Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Brian.
And I'm Brad.
Dr. Brad to all of you, Octavius. If you're not watching on YouTube or Spotify, where you can see the video versions. But we're here today to do our ranking tier list of essentially all the Sony Spider-Man movies. Little note, I'm not including anything that had Spider-Man in the MCU, but he wasn't the main character. One, because I think that would make things a little complicated. Like, I don't think Civil War should necessarily be in this list because he is literally in two scenes / sequences, however you want to call it. Once at the airport, once earlier, obviously, in Aunt May's apartment. But then when we go over to Infinity War and Endgame, like, I could see an argument for Infinity War, but in reality, his story is like, he's got a good chunk of Infinity War, and then he comes back for Endgame to finish off his story. So what would we do? Be like, okay, Infinity War counts, but let's ignore Endgame, or mush them together and be like, okay, so now we're going to rank this as his part in Infinity War, and then his 10 minutes at the end as forget all that.
It's just not worth it.
Yeah, it would be a little too confused. It kind of be like, to harken back to our last tier list, it kind of be like Vin Diesel on the set of Fast 5 where he tried doing math, like, okay, punches equal 2 points, and kicking another of us is 3 points. So now we can math this. And they're like, no, let's just make everything even. Appreciate the effort, Vin. Unnecessary or just overly complicated. So, to give everybody a view of what we're going to be ranking, we've got Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 1, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, The Amazing Spider-Man 1, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man Homecoming, Venom, because I know it doesn't have Spider-Man in it, but it is a Spiderverse movie that Sony really, really forced in there. Pretty hackneyed, but now we're just living with it. Like most change. Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse, Spider-Man Far From Home, Venom Let There Be Carnage, Spider-Man No Way Home, and finally, the most recent Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, at which time we will transition into our spoiler review of Across the Spider-Verse, give our thoughts on it, and then come back to the tier list and show you where we put it. Brad, how many times have you seen Across the Spider-Verse?
I have seen it one time. Thank you.
Cool beans. I knew how extra. I like a normal person. Me, I'm so extra that I knew I was going to see it multiple times. I already had tickets to Thursday for Across the Spider-Verse, and figured out how to hack the tickets for my daughter finally, because I'm on A-list and I got to pay for her full price tickets. Oh boy, it's been trouble. So I'm going to pass it on to you really quick. Right now, Fandango, I found out, every 4 tickets you get through the Fandango app, they give you a $5 credit. Now, the reason I couldn't refund this and use my $5 T-Mobile Tuesday ticket is because they make you choose the movie before you can use the credit, and then I would have had to call, yada, yada. Anyway, what I found out is that my AMC A-list counts as a ticket on Fandango.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'm already paying $20 a month on AMC A-list. I know I'm prattling on, but I want to pass on to anyone who can use this. If I just use just instead of booking on AMC, the AMC app, book it on the Fandango app, every 4 tickets, I get an extra $5. So please abuse that as much as you can until they take it away from us. That's how I treated MoviePass before it went bad. I am sorry. I helped it bring it to a smoldering end, but max out your 3 tickets every week on AMC A-list, and every week and a third, you'll get an extra $5 thing. Anyway, then we also had T-Mobile Tuesday $5 ticket. I knew we were going to see it more than once, so I pre-ordered tickets to see it twice on Thursday. And then I saw it last night again. Yeah, so at the time of filming, it's a Sunday. By Saturday night, I'd seen it 3 times. First thoughts on it before we get in the tier list? So we don't keep waiting too much?
It is not necessarily a movie that you need to see the first one for. I would recommend seeing the first one.
Gotcha.
I don't think it's necessary. It is a animated movie with a lot of different art styles kind of jammed into it. It's very, very busy on the screen. It's very colorful. So maybe that's not your style. If you prefer more live action Spider-Mans, I get it. But overall, it's a very, very solid movie.
I will
and I will say they pulled like top tier 2023 shenanigans in that movie. I will not tell you where.
Good, but we will get into spoilers, so we'll cover it there. I will put one little asterisk on there. If you think animated movies are not your jam, and thus you have not checked out Into the Spiderverse yet, you're a bad person. Correct that mistake. How dare you? Oh, shoot. I forgot to add one movie onto this list. So there's going to be a surprise extra movie that's going to be on the tier list. I won't even mention it now until we get to it. But one thing I did want to say is that this movie, Across the Spider-Verse, is opening to $120 million box office, which is weekend, which is so good. And actually, that might just be domestic. I didn't fact check that beforehand.
The last time I saw it, it was over 200 million for the opening weekend.
Over 200 globally?
Yeah.
Good. Because this was the lowest ranking Spider-Man film of all time. Any movie that had Spider-Man in the title, Into the Spider-Verse, let me be clear. Into the Spider-Verse was the lowest ranking. And that so many people in the reviews for this have said they avoided it because they were like, why? That's direct to DVD quality. And they checked it on DVD and they're like, I willingly passed up a theater experience with this movie. I'm a bad person. Direct quotes. Don't fact check me. Don't look. Don't check. But so just, it's probably on Netflix or something. The first one, check it out because you might be shooting yourself in the foot because of an arbitrary choice, ultimately.
Yeah, I would say that this movie would probably benefit from, and this is probably one of those rare cases that I think this movie would benefit from seeing it on like a large TV versus a very large screen, just because it is so busy so fast. I would say go see it in theaters. It's an amazing, it's a really, really good movie, and it's going to be. I think it's we're on the same page. I think I have an idea of where this is going to go on our tier list. But if you don't see this in theater, but check out the first one, and then if you like that one, you'll love the second one. I recommend seeing it on a smaller TV, not a smaller TV, a big TV, smaller area, because some of those scenes get pretty busy pretty quick. So,
all right,
it's probably one of those rare cases. Yeah. Every other movie in the history of forever, including ones that coming up like Oppenheimer, I go see in theaters. But this one, I would understand if you didn't.
You know what? I would say definitely. I've not been hot on Nolan lately. Definitely see Oppenheimer in theaters because he's been meaning to make this movie for forever. So with it actually gestating in his brain and having an idea before he decided to name his protagonist and not give them motivations and blah, 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 blah. I think it's actually going to be great. And to add on to what you said, this is one of those interesting situations where I think Across the Spider-Verse needs to be seen on the big screen, but also needs to be seen on a screen that you can pause. Because there's one part that they joked about in the Real Blend podcast, not the directors, Lord and Miller, who co-wrote the script and have produced both of the films. They joked that there's one part which they made literally because you needed to pause to get everything. And we'll get into that in the spoilers.
Oh, I have a pretty good idea of where we're talking about. Okay.
Yeah, it's not subtle. If you've already seen it, you know what I am talking about. But no more of my Jimmer Jammers. And I'm sorry for cutting off Dr. Brad Octavius's Jimmer Jammers. I know everyone's here for Brad. Let's just be real. But let's start the tier list. Brad, where would you put Sam Raimi's Spider-Man?
I would probably put this somewhere in the middle for me. I would say it's a good overall movie. It's not one of my favorite movies. I think there are other Sam Raimi movies that are a little bit better. I do like. I think this is the one with Green Goblin, if I remember right. I do like William Dafoe. I would probably put it. I'm going to say like B minus, like edible minusy.
Gotcha.
So we can kind of even out our scores a little bit.
All right. So I haven't watched this movie in a while, but anyone who watches Kinda Funny's in review, I've been watching their Spider-Man in reviews, and I was shocked. Let me put it this way. Right before Across the Spiderverse, because I've been watching their episodes so much, but I haven't seen nearly enough, I decided to watch their Into the Spider-Verse one and then their rewatch just the day before. And TLDR, if you haven't checked them out, but at the end, they do a ranking. They don't do a tier list, but they just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is this better than this? Is this better than this? And at that point, both the Amazing Spider-Man films were above all the Raimi Spider-Man films. And by the time we got to the ranking, I was like, oh! Not only that, I think this is actually an unforgivable crime. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was above The Amazing Spider-Man 1, to which I was really like, oh! What madness has happened? So at this point, I don't think I've finished The Amazing Spider-Man 2, their review of that, but as I was going through their Raimi Spider-Man films, they were explaining why they ranked them so poorly. And since then, I haven't had the chance to rewatch the first two Raimi Spider-Man films. I don't need to rewatch the third one. We all know why. But I was like, hearing their arguments, I was like, okay, I can see that, but I don't know if I'll really agree with it when I go back. And that was a very, 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 very long-winded way to say that I thought I was going to be the Debbie Downer of the Raimi films. I thought I was going to come in and you were going to be like, A, S, fuck the third one. So I think I agree. I don't know if it's a B minus for me, but no matter where I was going to go like a B, maybe a B plus. We're going to end up back here. The reason, I don't know, because for anyone who watched the Fast X tier list, we're not using these rankings holistically, you know?
Yeah, these are within the Spider-Man universe. So we will have at least one S tier movie. Maybe not every tier list, but in most tier lists, we're probably gonna have at least one S tier movie. We probably really won't have an F tier because F tier is kind of reserved for those movies that like basically shouldn't have ever been made.
Yeah, we
may have it in this one. We may not. I'm not 100% sure. We'll see.
And you know, if we were doing this with only the Sony Spiderverse movies like Venom, none of the movies would become S tier.
Yeah,
we're not going to force that.
We're not going to force one, but
yeah,
in this universe, there would be S tier movies, but that wouldn't translate over to S tier outside of these movies.
Not
if we
all
put on like a global, if we didn't put it on like a global scale, like every movie.
Because I could see an argument, especially since we're holding back telling you about our feelings about Across the Spider-Verse, I could see a really good argument for Into the Spider-Verse being S tier, and I might actually make that argument. So sometimes it's both. For like the Fast one, I would not
No, it would not
holistically say that Fast and Furious 6 or Furious 6 is S tier. So that's kind of what we're working with in terms
in pretty much any ranking besides just ranking the Fast and Furious movies.
Yeah. So I'm saying all that to say I actually remembering that I may have to argue that the first Raimi is an A. You know what? I'm going to go A minus or B plus. Either way, it'll average out to this, just to not to get in my head too much. But yeah,
it's a solid movie. I remember it very fondly growing up. I watched it probably within the last 2 years. Maybe it might have been a little longer than that. Maybe been right before 2020. Which feels like only a year or two ago, which is 3 years ago now. Thanks. Feeling old. So I do look on a movie fondly. I don't think it's a fantastic movie. I think it's a good, solid movie, and I think it really helped set off that franchise to more of the live action movies that's going to be coming down the line.
Yeah, I think this is a really good film that, and the negatives all came with time. Like at the time, what they were limited with, let's say the easy one is the Green Goblin Power Ranger suit. That was great for the time. And as a kid, I'm not like, why can't I see Willem Dafoe's face? But as I grow older, I'm like, oh yeah, if there could have been some way to keep the script the same, but get more of the, I guess, No Way Home kind of Goblin. Missed opportunity. The state fair where Norman, this is actually a negative on the script level because it never comes back, but when Norman turns the board members into skeletons and Spider-Man does the hopping to him, that CGI looks so weird. You know, the chemistry of Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst, they're great actors. And they have moments where they really shine. Like, even now I can remember Peter, I don't remember if it's Spider-Man 1 or 2, when he's talking to Mary Jane and telling her, I think it's Spider-Man 1, telling her about the performance in 6th grade that moved him so much. Woo! Yes, sir. Like, I'm here for it. But the second they kiss at the end of Spider-Man 2, I'm like, yikes. Nope. Didn't work. Fake. No chemistry. So, and also the fact that everyone looks 35. The age of the teacher and the kids he's scolding is like 4 years difference. These are all products of the time that as time went on, it's like, oh, come on. Like, why didn't you just be normal back then? But you know, you can't ignore Sam Raimi's just deft touch. There was a video essay that talked about when Goblin killed himself on accident, and it showed the kill, and you're like, oh yeah, that's a normal kill. And then it showed the actual scene, and there's just these, in this scene in particular, you see the glider going to him, and like the knives or whatever are almost to his stomach, and then it just cuts to a close-up where he just goes, oh, and then you see him hit, and it's just this tiny little half a second thing that I never would have thought of. Most people never would have thought of, but Sam Raimi just added that little bit more magic to the moment. So I think it was a really good start with an amazing performance from Willem Dafoe. Oh my gosh, even when he's doing the corniest stuff, like Aunt May was doing her prayer, and he's like outside listening, like, lay me down to sleep or whatever. And he's just like, boom, finish it. Like, it could have been so bad it's good. But for me, Willem Dafoe just walked that line, and Sam Raimi with him. perfectly for me.
And William Dafoe plays that role so well, and that style of roles that he's done kind of throughout his career, that good bad guy, but ends up being bad at the end. He walks that line very, very well as an actor, and chef's kiss to him.
Yeah, and it was very good with and of course, J.K. Simmons, Elizabeth Banks, even in a small role. That every time I hear someone revisit it, they're like, I didn't know Elizabeth Banks was in this film, because they were just doing what. Actually, I think this might be where Nolan got he got it from Superman. They were doing the Richard Donner Superman, where they got I think relatively unknown actor at the time. I'm not sure, but then just put really talented people all around him in every role. It's not an exactly the same metaphor, because in the Batman Begins, they put like Oscar-worthy talent in every. But here, I think it still technically applies because the talent is so rich. And then also the fact that Aunt May and Uncle Ben, it's possible, but the fact that they're 100 years old when 35-year-old, but really supposed to be 17-year-old Peter is in their stead. Great actor and actress. With time, we're like, that's a little weird.
Yeah, didn't age as well.
Yeah, I'm sure when Marissa Tomei was announced, everyone was like, what? You just trying to sexify Aunt May? And then they're like, oh no, this is just normal. Why were we okay with this? So yeah, I think that was a lot to say. I think B is the right spot, and I'm glad I'm not the Debbie Downer that I thought I was going to be. Alrighty. Let me get rid of this stuff at the bottom. What the heck? Alright, I don't know what's going on. Oh wait, there we go. Alright. Spider-Man 2, and I don't even know if this is a poster, but it was so cringe I had to add it.
I don't think that's the original photo, because I want to say it's like Spider-Man like jumping, shooting webs out front or something like that. Yeah, I think on a like standard Marvel, they have everybody else shadowed behind them.
Yeah, there's a couple that are definitely real. I think this was like CGI'd to kind of look like the Venom one, I guess. But it just looks plasticky and weird.
It does look a lot like the Venom one.
If you're on the YouTube app, you can pitch in and see how weird his face looks. So I couldn't resist. Sir, where are you putting this?
This one for me, probably B - C+. It's behind Spider-Man 1 for sure for me. Yeah, I mean it was fine, but I didn't like Dr. Octavius's the acting in that movie. I like the character himself, but I didn't like his acting. I felt he's very bland, and he didn't feel as hyped.
Hey, before you piss more people off, where do you want me to put it?
Drop it in the edible. Drop it in the B, but behind Spider-Man 1.
Okay. Keep going. Rip off another Band-Aid.
Yeah. So just I don't know. It just didn't. It wasn't as hyped as the first one. The first one, you got William Dafoe flying around doing cool stuff, throwing out his goblin grenades and stuff like this. Dr. Ock just kind of felt like very monotoned and very robotic. Yes, pun intended. It just didn't feel as fun as a movie.
Really? Wow. I am honestly shocked. I've literally, besides the in-review guys, I think you're the first person to say they didn't like this movie. You're definitely the first person I think who I've ever heard say they liked it less than the first one.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so a tease for the future, but we're going to be doing this series with the first 4 Mission Impossible movies called Review-a-thon. It'll be on Twitch, then it'll be on YouTube and Spotify. And everywhere else that you listen to your podcasts. Please like it if you're on YouTube, and rate it if you're on audio or Spotify. Because I always forget to say that. But I was really considering, I was like, after we're done, do I want to suggest doing the Spider-Man films? Because the next few are just like Craven and all the other villains that most people don't know the names of. It's like, would that even be worth our time? But now, oh my gosh, I just want an excuse for us to rewatch that movie and then get Brad's thoughts. Because while you were saying that, I was just thinking about the dinner scene with Dr. Octavius, and that's actually really funny that you chose that name.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything. With like Alfred Molina with his wife talk Peter about Peter's struggle. Don't know what happened.
Well, that's all right. Gave me time to watch the Spider-Man 2 trailer.
Nice.
Find Spider-Man. Peel the flesh off his skin.
Jesus. I didn't expect you to make fun of it. or to mock it.
I'm just watching the trailer, so I mean.
All right, internet went out, so let me just pick up where I was leaving off. But I'm thinking of like the dinner scene where he's talking to Peter and Peter struggles with MJ, and he's talking about we met in college, and I was trying to, and I haven't seen this movie in years, but I was trying to explain like quantum physics or something, and she was trying to explain some poet. I forget the name of. I still don't understand what that man was saying, but feed her poetry. And then Peter just getting knocked down at the party and trying to like read poetry to her. And she's like, what the fuck? I'm trying to have a human conversation with you, man. I remember when he takes May and Spider-Man is trying to get her back, and then he drops her and goes, Butterfingers. and of course we've all heard the power of the sun. God damn it! What the fuck is? Oh God! I thought you went away. I was
No,
kidding.
you blocked there for a second.
I did. I saw that. All right, I'm gonna leave that in. If anyone actually, if the recording caught me swearing, but like, even how he's tough but fair on Peter, he's like smart but lazy. And I don't know. I wasn't expecting Alfred Molina's acting to come off as wooden. How many times have you seen Spider-Man 2?
Probably 2, maybe 3 times.
Okay. Oh, also, I remember hearing, I don't remember if it was on the commentary track or not, but like, of course, the train scene that like just really captured Spider-Man action, at least compared to the first film. And I remember Sam Raimi. Do you remember the moment where Spider-Man gets knocked off and he like webs and kind of slides on the ground between traffic before going back up?
Thrusting himself, hip thrusting.
He does. He does that, and then I can literally see the shot in my head. He is swerving between traffic on 2 spider lines or whatever, and then he pulls himself up and like runs up a corner of a smaller building, and when he gets to the top, he jumps towards the train. Anyway, like Sam Raimi had to fight to let him get dragged on the ground for a little bit because the studio was afraid that Spider-Man would seem like weak or some stupid shit. Oh man, I'm moving this. You know what? Let me think. In this list, I want to make sure I'm not just trying to shoot for the average, because I'm tempted to put it here, but with that,
I mean, I would be okay if this slid either before Spider-Man 1 or if it slid to like that A- B+ range and we put it to A. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I know I'm not the biggest fan of it, mostly because I think was Alfred Molina.
Yeah,
I just don't like his acting in this movie.
okay.
His son, I like.
His son.
Yeah.
Oh, you talking about the Goblin son?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the Goblin son. Yeah, I think he's fine. He's pretty hyped in this movie. So I wouldn't be opposed. My biggest thing is I just think that Alfred Molina just kind of was very monotone bricked in this movie, and it just didn't hype me up. There was a lot of good scenes, a lot of good Spider-Man scenes, but as a villain, for me, I just didn't like it. So,
all right, I'm going to talk through some of my other things, because what I'm saying is I don't want to say it's S tier just to get it to A tier, you know?
yeah.
But then there's so many things that I love. Like, they asked Kirsten Dunst if she would rather have a good boyfriend or a bad boyfriend, and she said, I don't want to be saved, which made it so much more difficult, that whole situation, because dude's not a bad guy. He's not even like, even when he gets stood up at the altar, he's not like, God damn it. Like, the funny reaction we get is J. Jonah Jameson leaning to his wife and be like, I don't remember who, call Barbara. The caterer? Tell her not to open the caviar. You know, he's a nice guy. He's not doing anything wrong. And we get I loved the sequence where he lost his powers, where he started having to wrestle with that. We got a Joel McHale cameo before he got his plugs in and his got cast in Community. He had
funny. I forgot that. That's funny.
Peter admits that he's the reason Uncle Ben died, and there's actual like tension between him and Aunt May. She doesn't just immediately forgive her, like you know, no offense to it, especially some wearing the shirt and the tattoo, but not like a Ted Lasso where she just buries the emotions and forgives before she can process it. His whole time, the raindrops keep falling on my head, like that whole sequence, and him being chided by Dr. Connors, like, then be here, Peter. I really gotta watch it again with a more critical eye, because I don't know if these are just 1,000 beautiful moments that I remember, but it's a bad whole, you know. Because I'll say one thing that of course is a negative. Everybody knows it. It was cool, but when you give it 3 seconds of thought, you're like, what the fuck? When Mary Jane is like trying to talk to Peter and he's decided he's going to be Spider-Man again.
And she's already decided to be, or she's already getting married or whatever.
Well, no, not already, all the way at the end when they're at the diner and she's like, hey, you talked to me and I was thinking about it. And she's basically saying, I do want to give us a chance. He's like, and he had just decided he was going to go back to Spider-Man. He's like, ooh, I really led you on. Sorry about that. And she's like, just kiss me once. Just one kiss. And if there's nothing, then fine. And she pushed a little bit, but he's consenting. And she's leaning across the table. And then that spider sense, which is great. By the way, I didn't mention how cool the spider sense was in the first one, but the spitball, kind of gross, but still cool. But he goes, woo, and then there's a whole fucking car being thrown. Like, if Dr. Octavius didn't know that's Peter was Spider-Man, then that is brain dead. He's like, Peter's the only person on Earth who can get me Spider-Man. How do I get him to tell me? Throw a car directly at his head, behind him, kill him, and then find out where Spider-Man is. There are negatives like that, but I think if I was being honest without knowing how evil you are. No, I'm just kidding.
Heartless. Definitely heartless.
Yeah, I wanted to go something like, no, that felt too mean for me to call you heartless. I think if I'm being honest, I would say in the context of this, not holistically, I would go A+. So because there's no shot. This compared to Spiderverse, No Way Home, no shot that I'm going to put it S tier with them for myself. But okay, so was yours B-?
Yeah, I mean B-. I mean, that's fine. I would be okay with A tier. I'm not going to fight that one.
All right, if it's B,
if I had a stronger feeling, then I would fight you on it. But I don't have that strong of a feeling, so I would be okay if we average it out to like an A-.
Yeah, we'll say it's an A- just for any future films that get into the A tier. All right, so let me just guess where you're going to put this.
Boom.
All right, Spider-Man.
Sandman, favorite villain of all time.
Fun fact, the actor who played Sandman, he does not speak through his mouth. He speaks through his whole head. Not kidding. This isn't a joke. This isn't a bit. So when you're hearing him talk at this volume, he's screaming. That I'm still not, unless he was joking on a talk show. So when you hear him scream while he's acting, he's blowing a fucking blood vessel. Just a fun fact. How does that change your score?
It doesn't.
Good. I appreciate your integrity.
I'm probably going with, this is, for me, I've probably seen this movie once, maybe twice. So I don't have a super strong feeling of it. I didn't like it. I wouldn't pick it up. I'd probably watch it again if I was doing a complete rewatch of the 3. But if I wasn't, then I probably wouldn't watch it again. Some of the CGI stuff was cool with Sandman. D plus, C minus, somewhere in that kind of area.
Okay.
I have no ambition to watch this again any future time.
Yeah, this one was an interesting experience, man. I think it was actually a lot like my experience watching Pirates of the Caribbean 2, which will be relevant later. Not telling you why. You're gonna be so confused.
I'm confused.
But I think it was like that because the first time I watched it, I was like, whoo, whoa, boy, yeah. Did you see him go through that rubble and catch Gwen? What the fuck is that? That's so cool. And then I watched it again like a day or two later in a packed crowd, and I was like, why is everyone cheering? So same thing with Pirates 2. I had a fun time with like the Kraken and all that, and then by the second time I was like, this isn't that great. Yeah. So I'm actually perfectly fine with D because I think there are good things in here, but like, oh man, you're searching.
Yeah, I'm glad that they replaced Eddie Brock from Topher. I'm looking at the Wikipedia because I could not remember this movie. From Topher Grace to Hardy. Tom Hardy.
Yeah. So of course, I think most people know that Avi Arad really fucked this movie. Like every time he an Amazing Spider-Man movie is bad, you're like, who fucked it? Avi Arad with a side of Amy Pascal. So we all know that Sam Raimi just wanted to do Sandman and New Goblin, I guess, for this one and finish that out. And then for the fourth one, he was thinking Vulture and Black Cat. And then Avi Arad, always the analytics guy, always the algorithm guy, was like, fans love Venom. We need Venom. Do Venom. And it really fucked it. And honestly, I don't know if the third one would have been good because Avi Arad didn't force the memory loss thing. Avi Arad, like, if Avi Arad didn't force Venom, I don't know what the third act is because Sandman was. With Venom, he's not fully understandable or fully sympathetic because he goes from, I need to get this money to pay for this stuff, which, by the way, how do you steal money? And then suddenly the doctor's like, oh yeah, you suddenly have $200,000? No questions asked, bro. But then by the end, he's like, he has stopped me from stealing some bills. Let's kill him. Let's kidnap a woman and threaten her so we can kill the man, and I'll still be able to look in my daughter's eyes at night. And then also, stuff like, I know the CGI was progressing, so we got some interesting locations, like the alleyway that has 1,000 air conditioners for for New Goblin to smack his head into, the train system that just looks like a spider web turned into train lines, like 30 different levels, all of them to fight, and just, oh, I got hit by one train. Look at me go down 100 feet to another train line that's somehow here underground. So although then again, maybe Sam Raimi was just like, I don't want to do this. Fuck it. Let's just have some weird fun. So,
some other fun facts about this movie. This is the highest grossing film until Far From Home.
Highest grossing Spider-Man film.
Until
Gotcha.
Far From Home of the series. Sorry, and then before this movie, they had a 4th, 5th, and 6th, and a Venom spinoff already planned out. And then they canceled it with this movie.
I bet that was some Avi Arad bullshit, like how before TASM 2, they were like, we're doing a Sinister Six, we're doing a Black Cat and Silver Sable, we're doing an Amazing Spider-Man 3. And then they were like, ooh, but people didn't like this, though.
Yeah. Well, apparently people did like it in theaters because it did make almost $1 billion in 2007, 895 million. But I think a lot of people like Venom in the comic books and like the TV show and stuff like that because he was a very dark and sinister character. Where in this movie and then Venom's, he's not as dark.
He's just creepy.
Yeah, just weird. It's just kind of like flat. Yeah. It's kind of like it's like the PG version of it, and you're like, well, but this isn't the character. Yes, I know he bites one guy's head off. Okay, cool. But like in the comic book, that happens all the time in the TV shows and stuff like that. He's a lot darker and a lot cooler. Very like if you want to compare it to somebody else, like Punisher, very that style. But then when you kind of PG him out for a movie, it's just kind of like it's not really the same character.
Yeah, and I get what Sam Raimi was going for. He said that he wanted to get Topher Grace so that he could introduce a villain that's kind of a mirror to Peter. But this movie was not worth tanking the last season of that 70s show. Let me just put it that way. It did, and then, you know, the choices, I get where all the origins of them come, but he's like, hello, Captain Gwen Stacy. I'm engaged to your daughter. We had coffee. Ha! Nice to meet you. And she's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I don't know. It's
Captain Gwen Stacy.
I wanted to.
Okay. I was like, George,
I almost did, that I caught myself, that I was like, no, I'm making a choice now. And like Bryce Dallas Howard is an amazing talent, and I loved the small moment where like Peter was clearly using her to be a dick towards MJ, and when she realizes, she apologizes to MJ. Like, that's some fucking feminism way ahead of its time. Like, to be perfectly honest, to have that in a 2008 movie, I think, to have
2007, yeah.
2007, to have a woman recognize she's being used by a dick and then apologize to the other woman who is being wronged instead of start a cat fight. Holy shit. And for a man to be writing and a man to be directing, and somehow we got there. Like, good job, team. You know what? S tier. We did it, boys. We did it. We beat feminism. No. We didn't beat feminism. We beat sexism. Yeah, I agree to have it as the D tier.
And the worst part is, it's probably not even the lowest movie on this list.
Yeah, there's one other special one, which I've already alluded to, talking about kind of funny, but we'll get to there. All right. So now we wait 5. Okay, go ahead. Because I'm moving to the next one. I just want to throw this out there because I don't want to get too close and then to be obvious. But one of the upcoming movies, and by the way, none of these movies that we have on the tier list made me cry. One of the upcoming movies made me cry 4 times. So Feel free to put your guess down below. I think Brad might already know. That's why I said put your guess down below. But if I haven't told you and you can guess it, please do. Otherwise, I'll say it. I'll reveal it when I reveal that surprise movie that we're going to add. But did I already tell you?
No.
Okay. All right. So the next one is The Amazing Spider-Man. I'm just going to drop this here so I can scroll back up. But also, please remind me to reveal which one I cried 4 times, because there's a good chance I'll forget. Where would you put The Amazing Spider-Man?
So we went from 2007 to 2012.
Mm-hmm.
We went from Tobey Maguire to probably my favorite Spider-Man. I mean, I think Tom Holland is good. I just like his portrayal of Spider-Man as Andrew Garfield, but I also like Andrew Garfield as an actor.
Sorry. I was trying to multitask. I was listening until I heard my own voice, and then my narcissism took over. No, I went into panic mode. Please repeat yourself.
The Lizard, and this is a movie I've probably only seen twice, maybe 3 times. And I need to get back to it, and I was meaning to buy the packs that came out, the 3-pack and the 2-pack, because I need to rewatch all these movies.
Ooh, 2 things really quick. One, I didn't realize. Did you rewatch all the Fast and Furious movies before the last tier list?
No.
Okay, I'm only saying that.
I had rewatched all the movies post 2020. So before 9, I watched all the movies.
Okay, because when I was planning this, Brad was like, I don't know if I have enough time to rewatch them all. I was like, what? So I wanted to ask just so he could get some pats on the back if he did that first. I was like, please don't. I'm not. And then, what is it? I forgot to mention during 3, I didn't realize until there was a sale on everything that I actually decided not to buy Spider-Man 3. I just finally bought it for $4.99 on digital because I was like, well, if we do the review-a-thon, which is kind of a discount in review, I'll just admit before we do it, I should have it. And it's not going to be on sale when we want to do it. So I'll get it now. But sorry, continue on.
Let's see. Andrew Garfield, amazing actor. Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy, fantastic. This movie also has a ton of other big name actors and actresses in it. Dennis Leary. Who else? Martin Sheen. Ifrah Khan. Right? No, how do you pronounce his first name?
Irfan? Is
Irfan?
it IRFAN?
Yes. Fantastic. For me, this is probably like an A- tier. For me, I would definitely put it in front of Spider-Man 2, but that's my personal opinion.
That's right. You put it till unless I change something.
Yeah. So I'd probably put it there. I like Lizard. He's not the strongest of villains. They probably should have picked a stronger villain to restart the franchise as the Amazing Spider-Man. But they already used Green Goblin. They had already used Dr. Octavius. So they were kind of shoehorned in there and kind of gimped to start with. But so I think Lizard was a fine choice. But I enjoy that movie. The movie's fun for me.
This movie was a movie with so many exciting promises that it didn't deliver on for me. Well, I'm not going to go that hard on it. I'm starting there because you reminded me. One, I think I'm realizing that one of the flaws of this film, again, to Aviarad, was that they were trying to copy the finales of like Marvel movies, like causing the whole lizard thing, and you see the police changing. The reason I'm mentioning that is because there was a leak early that, or it could have been a rumor if it turns out to be not true, but I haven't heard anything to the contrary, that said they planned on having an action sequence where Spider-Man was going to fight all the police lizards. But
What?
Like, you just remember in the third act when Lizard's changing everyone and you actually see the police start changing, and then at the end you see them like heal from the thing that's shot everywhere.
Yeah, the poison gas thing.
Yeah, so they were like, well, what if Spider-Man has to fight a bunch of those? And honestly, I thought that was a good idea. Like, if you're going to do that and have people start changing, then show us that that there's something, like, do it. Use that. It's not a gas that's just we kill everybody. If you got a bunch of extra lizards, have a couple sequences. I don't know. Have a sequence of just him webbing up all the cops who are lizards. Something. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, and I'm looking at this through retrospect. So obviously I get the advantage of knowing everything that's happened up to this point
in the world.
Yes. But in Spider-Man 2, having Spider-Man fight the cop, or not fight, but like have to fight lizard cops, that'd be tough just because he spends so much time defending, even though in most of these movies he's getting chased down by the captain of police, whoever it is, and depending on what movie you're watching. He gets chased down by him, but it also befriends him at the same time, and a lot of times they're related to him or related to the girl that he likes. I think it would have been tough. I think it would have been tough to do that, because it would have felt more like him turning on his friends and turning on people that he's serving to protect and serve. And I think it would make as a PR nightmare now in 2023 versus 2012. But I think that would make a PR nightmare now. If you were to redo this movie and do that, so he's fighting the cops now, I think it'd be tough.
All right, I get that viewpoint, but it would kind of just be expanding on the struggle between him and Connors, because he comes to respect Dr. Kirk Connors, but then when he starts becoming the lizard, he has to wrestle with, like, okay, I'm trying to save him, but he's trying to kill me, so how do I do this without having to kill him? It would just kind of, for me at least, it would be an extension of that. And also there's just, they could have gone the scenario of like not making Captain Stacy turn into a lizard, but just having a bunch of random police officers change into a lizard. And again, Peter knows that they're not really bad people. It's the fact that they're turning into fucking lizards. Kind of like a werewolf story, I guess. Except in this one, you can just spray juice on the werewolves and cure them.
Yeah, I mean, if they started changing, or if they started changing the lizards and started coming after him, and then he gets the idea or whatever for the toxin or whatever to reverse it. As long as he doesn't fight them, I would say I'd be okay. Like if they started like zombie apocalypse coming at him, then like maybe. But if he were to like start web slinging all of them, I think it would have been too much.
That's fair. I could see, like, for me, I could see a situation, especially using the verticality of the buildings. Oh gosh, I've finally earned my grade school graduation certificate that I never got. But using the verticality of the buildings, I could see like him getting chased by the random lizards and then having to like maybe fight them a little bit, but webbing them up on the sides of buildings kind of deal, or on roofs. And then just at the end, when you see everyone getting cured, like a couple guys are on the side of a building like, Captain, can you help us down? Because I mean, yeah, it's kind of like it's the excuse of they're not really cops, at that point. But there were also smaller moments, like the argument at the dinner table between Peter and Captain Stacy over Spider-Man, when Spider-Man is just manhunting himself, not himself, he, as Spider-Man, is just conducting a manhunt. He's not interested in actually helping people. He's interested in revenge. And Captain Stacy points that out. And you get this like kind of close-up shot of him, of Peter just kind of thinking. And then he goes and talks to Gwen, and she's like, "Oh, why are you arguing with my dad? My dad is so embarrassing. We're teenagers." Woo! Like that moment even could have just needed a small. I remember even after the first or second watch, I think leaving, I was just like, that moment needed Peter to whisper to himself at least, "He's right." Just put a little extra. Like, put a pin in that moment. That's not the right one. Just put a cherry on top of that. Because it is what he needed to hear so he can get his shit together. And of course, they did the horrible, let's use 500 words to say with great power comes great responsibility. They didn't even do the No Way Home thing, which I thought was smart, which is do the original one. What was it? With great power must also come great responsibility. Like that was the original quote. But I think it was really not just because of the amazing name, but getting Mark Webb to direct this really gave just this magic little extra nuance, even with the Flash. Like at the end of the movie, when not near the end of the movie, earlier, when Flash goes up to him after Uncle Ben died and he pins him, and Flash is like, "Sorry about your dad." It feels good, right? Like basically abusing him, picking on him. And you get this moment of like, holy shit, Flash, the biggest dickhole of dickholes, is not coming to rub it in. Like, haha, your uncle died, loser. He's going to not only console him, but then when he gets pinned up against the locker, he's not reacting aggressively, which as a knee-jerk reaction, even with the Flash, or not the Flash, with Flash would have been understandable. He empathizes. Not only does he empathize with Peter's anger, he connects with it and tells us why he's such a big dickhole, which is that he has his own fucked up trauma that he's just taking out on other people. Like that was such a beautiful, unexpected moment that I wouldn't have thought of that. But I think Mark Webb, with his history of like 500 Days of Summer and just being character first, really benefited. I think they really needed to get him an assistant director who could help with the action and also ban Avi Arad. I think Avi Arad on the red carpet for the premiere, there was a clip of him with Mark Webb telling a reporter, "Yeah, every day I would come to him with a shot list and he'd throw it out," which is smart on Mark Webb's part, but so fucking weird on Avi Arad's part. Like, excuse me, sir, if you want to direct the film, you're the producer.
Then just do it.
Convince the studio. Like, just fucking direct it. It'll be hot garbage, but at least they'll fire you after. But if he hires another director, fucking let that. Why are you hiring him if you don't trust him? But then there are the flip sides, like Irfan Khan, the guy you were talking about. He was meant to be in the third act. There are deleted scenes of him figuring out Lizard's plan at the same time as Peter, instead of doing that really fucking dumb, this is the camera, property of Peter Parker, glued on. He was supposed to continue on and then get killed by the Lizard, but instead they just like retconned him out of the bridge sequence where all the cars are hanging, which is one more thing. Great scene, but if you go back to the trailers that had that moment of him saving the kid, the score in the trailers is chef's kiss. When you watch the movie after seeing it with that amazing score, they don't have the same score, and you're like, this is not great. I mean, it's fine, but you showed me a much better scored version of this scene. and now I have to live with this one. Anyway, I'll stop rambling on. I saw it with fun fact. The first time I saw this movie was with Kevin Smith for his show Spoilers. I figured out a way to get on 4 or 5 episodes, and everyone flamed me because on one of those episodes, which I'm not on screen, it was the same day that Stan Lee was there, and I essentially ended up in a room alone with Stan Lee, and I chickened out. That's the fact of it. I logicked myself and be like, he gets bothered all the time. He wouldn't like that. Later learned he would have loved it. But I chickened out of my only chance. Not in the line, not at Comic-Con. I had like 5 minutes. I could have been like, man, like, thank you. I don't know why I did this. Like, hey, Stan, you're a real homie for getting Spider-Man. Because you were bored and saw a fly flying around your office. For anyone who doesn't know, when Stan Lee was trying to brainstorm, he saw a fly on the wall. He's like, oh, a superhero that sticks to walls. What can we do? Fly Man, Centipede Man, Spider-Man. Oh, Spider-Man. It just had a good ring to it.
And didn't because he wanted people to get over the fear of spiders or something like that too. Wasn't that part of it?
I think I've heard that. I don't remember.
I remember hearing something vaguely about it. I mean, I'm not a huge Spider-Man buff. I haven't gone down that rabbit hole lately.
Yeah.
But
I'll give everyone an excuse to watch Into the Spider-Verse if for some reason you still have made the biggest mistake of your life and not done that. The best quote about Spider-Man or superheroes in general that I've heard from Stan Lee is at the end of that movie. Right before. I don't know what's happening. Of course it's today.
It was just hilariously funny. Because you're the last thing I heard was you're gonna make the quote from Across the Spider-Verse or whatever, and that was exactly when you cut off.
All right, well, I don't remember the quote, but you need to watch it. It's the last thing before the proper credits, and by that I mean like the scrolling ones that have less art put into it, I believe. But back to the Amazing Spider-Man. And also Sally Fields and Martin Sheen, amazing Aunt May and Uncle Ben. Great casting. The chemistry between Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. Of course, we all know they were dating by then. It shows. They did the Twilight thing, but right.
Never seen it. Couldn't tell you.
Artistic side. Oh, well, that'll be our first review-a-thon. No, I'm just kidding. Hell no. Join the membership if you want to make us do that.
Make me watch, what was it, Breaking Dawn Part 2 or whatever without.
Yeah. Give a like or put a rating. So for me, this really did a great job with those character moments. Even Crane Dad, like, that got me a little bit. But it is very flawed. So for me, I think I'd put it at a B- because there's so much promise, but in the ways that like we want, like the struggle with the villain's plot, the actual action, it's just lacking enough to pull it down. I don't think it's a bad move. I don't think the sum of its parts makes a bad movie. I think it switches from being a good movie to a bad movie. But what was yours? Mine's B-.
I think I put mine in an A. So B+, so in front of Spider-Man 1.
All right, because Spider-Man 1 was a B-.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
All right. Now, just not to hedge your or influence your score, but the movie that I was so aggravated we had to wait 2 weeks when the rest of the world saw it 2 weeks earlier than the US, that I did not torrent it. But then was made so angry that if I still had it, I would have taken my collectible bust of Spider-Man 1, which is not unlike the Matrix one, which I don't know where it is right now. But if I still had it and an X didn't have it, I would have smashed. Where do you put this one?
I've only seen this movie once, maybe twice, maybe at most twice. I don't remember a whole lot about it. I do remember Jamie Foxx as Electro. I do remember the parts with Emma Stone, and she yells at him while he's in the spider suit. Peter, when he like spiders her to the car, to the hood of the car.
That was the first. Wait, no, sorry. I was gonna say that was the first one because no, but it was the second one. I was just laughing because I was like, wait, if that was the first one, that's hilarious. That's the only thing he's really
so I'm gonna naturally just throw it into the C tier with no feelings either way. I really liked Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. I really like Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy. I do remember that this movie has to do with the Green Goblin dying, and he needs Spider-Man's blood. I know this movie is kind of all over the place, if I remember right. It's got like 9 different villains, including Rhino, I think, is at some point in time in this movie, at the beginning of this movie, I think. So I remember bits and pieces of it, not enough to actually really rank it. I'm just going to throw it in the C tier just because I have not seen it in a really long time. Seen it once, and I just remember it being kind of chaotic.
Yeah, so I'll mention this from the last film, but because it pertains to one of the things I'm going to talk about here. But the last film ended with a scene where Peter got late to class, and Gwen's already there. The teacher says, "Late again, Mr. Parker." He says,
doesn't she go to like Oxford or something like that, or is that this movie where she goes to college?
She's going to in this movie, but we don't see it.
Oh, okay.
And I don't remember if it was Oxford. I'm just, but this is the one where she's going to college. And in the end of that film, he says, "Sorry, it won't happen again, I promise." And she says, "Promise, don't make promises you can't keep." Now, before I say the last line, I'm going to remind you that Captain Stacy, in one of the better moments, asked him to leave Gwen alone so that he wasn't risking her life. And on Captain Stacy's dying breath, he promised. Not only that, but Gwen was smart enough. She came over, she said, "You weren't at the funeral. Where were you?" And then as she's going in the rain, she turns back and says, "He made you promise to keep me safe."
I do remember that.
And it's such a powerful fucking moment. And then in this scene, this final scene, when the teacher says, "Don't make promises you can't keep," he leans into Gwen and says, "But those are the best kind." And they both smile, which left such a fucking horrible taste in my mouth, because what they're really both smiling at is, "I did promise your dad I'd leave you alone. And when I made that promise, I consciously knew I'd break it. And I thought, what a delicious promise to make." And they both smiled at it, which was so fucking weird and gross, and could have been avoided by saying, "Sometimes I can't help myself." That's it. That's the whole change you had to make. And I'm just gonna jump to why it relates to this film, because this film does exactly the same thing. There is, in one of the most beautiful parts, actually, probably, I'm just gonna say it's the most beautiful part of this film. Spider-Man saves a kid being bullied in an alley. Not only that, he walks the kid home. The kid's a little scientist. He's got a windmill thing. He talks to him. It's super sweet. At the end of the movie, when we have dumb Rhino being dumb Rhino in the middle of the street, and dumb pedestrians watching, the mom of that kid brought him to watch dumb rhino shoot machine guns at cops. So that's all stupid. I'm just getting that out of the way, especially the pedestrians. But this kid, and to set the scene, Gwen died, and it's been a year since Spider-Man showed up. This kid dressed in a Spider-Man suit, I'm getting emotional talking about this. He puts on his Spider-Man mask and goes to stop the rhino. Look how it's affecting me just talking about this. What a beautiful fucking scene. And then the rhino starts mocking him. It's fine. And you just hear, and it's filmed so beautifully because you don't see him. You hear, and if my sound mixing that I do cuts that out, I just made thwipping noises. You just hear that. And then you hear, "Hey, Spider-Man." And Peter talks to the little kid and says, "Thank you. Thank you for stepping up when I was gone." And it's so beautiful and validating to this little kid whose mother is horrible. she's awful. Take this kid away from the mother because she brought him to a machine gun party. But he goes away, goes back to his mom, and it's this beautiful, touching moment where it's like, holy shit, Spider-Man, you're back. And then he jumps up on a cop car, takes a megaphone, and says, hey, Rhino, what's up? What do you want to do? He's like, come over here. Oh, so you could kill me? You want to kill me? He's like, yes. Okay. And he tosses the megaphone back. A random cop catches it. He's like, let's do this. Woo! And it cuts out there. And I'm like, in both instances, you had this emotional, just raw emotion at the end of this messy movie. And you could save the whole experience with this because it's so affecting in both movies. And then they shit the bed right before credits. I already made a video about that. You don't need to watch that video now. It's not a shout out. I just did the whole thing. That's the biggest crime. That's why I probably would have. That was the nail in the coffin that would have made me record myself smashing that bust to bits. It was a Spider-Man bust and a lizard bust. But then you also get stuff like Jamie Foxx is so good. He's such a not in this film. Let's be clear. I'm just setting the scene. He's so good. He's such a talent. And then they just do the Rhino thing of like, yeah, weird to 1,000. Just make him fucking weird. Which, if the rest of the movie, if the first movie and this movie was like that, it could have worked. But this isn't Scott Pilgrim. This is, he has a psychopath's apartment, and it doesn't work.
Oh yeah, he does have a psychopath apartment. I do, because he's got like the murder strings and everything everywhere.
Yeah,
I do remember that. And
it could have worked. There was a way to make that work. And then the opening sequence in particular, like people are like, "Oh, this is the Spider-Man." When I see the suit, the wind affecting the suit, and he's swinging in. And then as soon as Spider-Man gets on the Rhino's truck and just starts joking, while we're still seeing people get pancaked, that's psychotic. Whoever was like, "Yeah, but we need jokes." Someone else should have said, okay, then we need to take out the civilian deaths that are happening while Spider-Man's having his lulls. Because there's no world where Spider-Man would be prioritizing his own jokes over people's lives. Okay, I just realized that's 9:30 where Brad is, so I gotta stop going.
We're okay.
Forever. Like, the blood thing even, like, 1,000 people have said this before, but dude's 80. Like, if his son's just getting the little eczema that he's gonna get, he's got time. He doesn't have to worry. He doesn't need to freak out and be like, "Oh my God, Spider-Man, give me your blood because I'm gonna die next week." All you had to add was, "Oh, I didn't get that until very late." Then it's like, oh shit, everything's wrong. Now it's better. All this, it's just, It's so
And then he can't
stupid.
use he realizes he can't use Spider-Man blood for whatever reason too. Isn't that kind of a thing?
No, Peter just refuses to give him the blood, which is fine. It's like the last time you saw this kid he was 8. You're coming back to pay back a beautiful thing that he did when you were a child, when you lost your Uncle Ben. Like, that's great. But if he was going to show up and say no, then don't show up. Just be like, yeah, Spider-Man's really scared about his secret identity coming out, and to get his blood, you're getting his DNA. So I know him a little because I take photos, but we're really not tight like that. That's all you had to do. But instead you're a fraud, Spider-Man! Like they make Dane DeHaan try to do a J. Jonah Jameson impression. Because he's mad that he wouldn't slice his wrist open, right? He wasn't asking that. But just because he wouldn't let him like grab a pint of blood. And then the thing that happened was that he took the serum or whatever without Peter's blood, and because he didn't have Peter's blood, then it made him into a goblin. It was just there were so many ways to make this good, and they were like, you know what we did on Spider-Man 3? How about we do this now? And then Junkie XL had these weird ideas of like when they're in Times Square, which again could have been a great sequence, but it was just riddled with stupid stuff, like the people still on the steps for 5 minutes watching an electric dude until it's time for them to be saved. All this stuff, and I personally hated Spider-Man wasting time putting on a fireman's outfit and getting a hose. I get it's comic accurate. Some people love it. I don't want to poo-poo your fun time, but when I saw that, I'm just like, why did you waste time getting that fireman's hat? You just took someone's fireman's hat, or took a prop that was meant for a kid. And then in that case, why'd you need it? It was just, there was so much promise. It was so bad. Even the moment when Spider-Man saved Max for the first time, if you go back and watch, he saves him. They do like a roll, they move 2 feet, and then you see like 30 feet higher than them, a car flies. So if you map it out in your head, you're like, oh, that car was never going to hit Max. Spider-Man just saved him so that he could be like, hey, what's your name's Max? Let me fake lick my hand and then wipe your head. I don't know. Yeah, this is a fucking travesty. It's a mess. I think you're putting it as C because you haven't seen it. I'm putting it an F. It's going to end up at a D. Behind, I don't remember what Spider-Man 3 was at, if it was a D- or something, but someone can say, even if with our average it should have ended up here, if you don't mind, I'm putting it here.
That's fine. I don't mind that. I don't remember this. I remember this movie being chaotic. I do remember Jamie Foxx in this movie, but I don't really remember the storyline the beats of the storyline to even accurately grade it. So
yeah, and it's such a mess that like they teased Black Cat with Felicity Jones, and then also took the woman who was in Fault of Our Stars, Shailene Woodley, filmed scenes of her as Mary Jane. And for whatever reason, maybe they were like, oh, we have 1,000 too many storylines. What should we do? Let's cut out one. They cut out Mary Jane after having filmed it. This was, and I'm never going to blame Mark Webb. Because, again, we've known that Avi Arad's fuckery existed before these movies. I wouldn't blame Mark Webb if he was halfway through, he was just like, fuck it, just do it. Just do everything you want. Yep, just do it. I guess I don't want to come back for another one of these. Yeah, this is... It's 9:36 where Brad is. Let's let's cut his suffering short. Homecoming. Where are you putting it at?
Wait, Homecoming came out before Venom?
Yes.
Did it really?
Yes. Because
okay.
this is what, I looked up fact check me while I'm saying this. But
Homecoming was 2017.
Yeah, so Venom came out a couple months before Into the Spiderverse. And all this started happening, after they did the deal with the MCU, Amy Pascal, Avi Arad excused himself. Let's pretend that he chose to. But after that, Amy Pascal started pushing all the developments and doing it's not in the MCU, but it's MCU adjacent, but it is in the MCU. And all those memes of Kevin Feige just sitting there next to her, like, please stop saying that. Please stop saying that.
Yes. Homecoming was 2017 and Venom was 2018. So, yeah.
Where are you putting Homecoming?
Homecoming for me is probably like a B plus A minus tier. I really liked Michael Keaton. I really liked Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I really liked I forgot what his villain name was. Michael Keaton's villain name in this movie.
Vulture. The original villain for Spider-Man 4, Sam Raimi's.
Okay. I really liked his what's the word I'm looking for? His reasoning behind doing everything. It kind of goes off the deep end, which you kind of expect when you start making that kind of money. But he was doing it for his family, so there was a reason behind it. They were cleaning up the mess from was it Infinity War or the first Avengers movie?
Yeah, the first Avengers.
So they're cleaning up the scrap metal. Get told by the government, keeps a little bit of it. Needed to make money for his family. Got that big contract, so he was super jacked. So I understand his character development. I really liked they really added Spider-Man having his best friends, including I forgot what they call her, Michelle or whatever in this movie. Before we find out that she's
Michelle Jones.
Yeah.
Would you put it right here or right here? It might move when it's me. I just want to stop holding this mouse.
I don't know. Let me talk for another 5 more minutes while you hold that thing.
Totally fair. After my 2 hours of talking, that's totally fair. 2 hours, even though we've been recording for an hour and 26 minutes.
with some mild technical difficulties throughout there, laced in there.
Just a scooch.
So I'd probably put it as like an A minus. We'll go A minus. I think this is a really solid film. I think that this is a lot of younger people's first foray into Spider-Man, because I don't think a lot of them watch the younger people that are, say, 20 and less probably started here.
Our collective score was A minus for Spider-Man 2, right?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, so would you put it below Spider-Man 2 or above Spider-Man 2?
I mean, I would probably put it above, but I'm not opposed to putting it behind either.
Okay.
I like how this movie ties very well into the MCU. It was very intentional, obviously, where the other movies were very independent, kind of on their own little blocks. This was very intentional that they did this movie, and it was very intentional that I believe they wanted to get this out before Civil War, so that way there was a tie-in with Civil War, but I think it came out after.
I don't know if they ever intended. Well, hell, I'm sure Amy Pascal was like, "Okay, we signed it. Can it release tomorrow?" But ultimately, Civil War came out first, and I think it worked out well for this movie. I'm sure it got a bump.
I'm sure it did. I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it when it came out. But I've seen this movie's I've probably seen this movie second most, behind Far From Home.
Oh, nice. Out of all the Spider-Man movies on this, or all the
Spider-Man movies.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a movie where if you say some of the stuff on paper, it could sound like Avi Arad saying it, but it worked. Like, oh, Wait, all right, who should our villain be? Okay. Well, someone just did we got a Birdman as the villain. Someone just got a lot of Oscar praise for playing a Birdman. Let's get him. Michael Keaton.
I forgot about that. I didn't even put that together.
Right? Because I'm saying, from when I saw Birdman, I didn't get it. I thought it was overhyped. I think that movie at the time got a lot of mileage out of it being one take, but I'm using your one sentence to blanket statement claim that nobody talks about it anymore, which is a bad faith argument. But I don't think that movie was as great as everyone said it was. And fun fact, one of the leads of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend is in that movie for just a tiny little moment. Anyway, everyone should watch Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Then also stuff like, oh, well, who should Spider-Man's villain be? Let's make it an Iron Man villain, technically. Like, let's retcon it to make it more of an Iron Man villain. What should we do? Who should be a secondary villain? Oh, well, remember that nerdy thing? Like, people who are ultra nerds will remember Donald Glover. Like, everyone wanted Donald Glover to be Spider-Man. Let's have him in here as a kind of minor villain.
Kinda, yeah.
Let's put the Shocker, the Tinkerer, Shocker 2. If Avi Arad was producing this, it would have been a horrible mess. Like, third time's the charm, putting in multiple villains in one Spider-Man movie. I'll just say, hell, there was even the rumor that came out that was like the villain is the love interest's father. But all of us were so distracted with the fact that Zendaya was being cast as MJ and not being named Mary Jane. We forgot, oh yeah, she's not the love interest. What was the character's name? Forgive me, they've only been in one film.
It was the blonde girl or whatever, yeah.
Not the blonde girl. That's Betty Brant. She comes later. She dates Ned for the vacation. But there was the taller girl who I think everyone just blanket would have been like, oh, her? Out of Peter's league. The tall Liz, yes. So then we were all distracted with MJ, like Mary Jones. Okay, no, his name is Toombs, definitely. Or not Mary Jones, Michelle Jones. That when it was revealed, we're like, oh, we knew this ahead of times. We had it was kind of like the rap, spoiling something for Fast X, which I still won't say, even though everyone should know by now. It's like they spoiled it and we're like, how dare you spoil it? And then we're watching, it was like, oh, they didn't spoil it. They did. And it's still,
well, she didn't go by MJ, she went by Michelle Watson. Up until towards the end of the movie when she said her full name, Mary Jones Watson or Michelle Jones Watson, which then became MJ.
Okay, I might be remembering wrong, but I thought she revealed that she went by Michelle Jones in this one, and then at the end she says, but you can call me MJ, but my friends call me MJ. It's like, and she's like, that's her way of being like, can you be my friend? And then I think like by the third one they kind of retconned it and called her Michelle Jones Watson. I don't know. There was weirdness around there, which I get. Like, I don't mind it, but having it be MJ but not Mary Jane was a little. Kevin Feige said that it was a way to communicate that, like, wink wink, future, but we don't want to copy. I don't know. But then there was a great video essay talking about how this movie was better than Spider-Man 2 because Spider-Man was an active protagonist. And I'm sorry to do this to you if you really love Spider-Man 2, but if you go back to that movie, you see that nothing Peter does is ever a true choice. Like, when he stops being Spider-Man, subconscious, yes, he doesn't want to be Spider-Man anymore, but he doesn't choose to walk away from the suit. He loses his powers, and basically that's not a choice. When he chooses to be Spider-Man again or go back, it's, even though we talked about he kind of was getting the sense that he was going to go back, at that point it's do I either go back as Spider-Man or live with the idea that the love of my life has been skinned alive. Not a real choice. So he was a passive protagonist. Everything was happening to him and he was reacting. Here we get the best, at this point, for my money, the best scene in the MCU. And I haven't thought about it since, so I don't know if there's a better scene since, but the scene of him going to the prom with Toombs, and Toombs has figured it out. He's put it together because he's not a fucking idiot. I don't know that there's any villains that I'd say are fucking idiots, and I'm not going to think about that for 2 seconds to figure out who is, because I'm sure there is. But like most movies will treat a villain like that, of like, oh, Peter was with us on that trip. Peter was here where Spider-Man was, and they'll just be like, oh, that's funny. Did you get a picture of Spider-Man? And they're like, whoosh. Wind right over their head, that thing. But here he puts it together, and you get that they were at a stop sign, and when he figures out or a stoplight, it switches from red to green, and then he lets Michelle out, and he said, or not Michelle, Liz, and he says, I'm gonna give him the talk, and then he takes out a fucking gun, and he's like, and he doesn't go full villain. He goes, hey, bud, I've been doing it. I know you know. And you know that I know. I have been doing this for my family. This is the last one. All you need to do is go inside, enjoy yourself. Don't enjoy yourself too much. And we'll be good. And he lets him go. He doesn't try to kill him. He doesn't do some stupid shit. He just lets him go. He sees that he's a kid. He thinks because he's an adult, he's intimidated this kid into standing down. And by the way, I get why he'd think so. He threatened to kill him, kill everyone's family, if he just lets him do this non-violent crime, which technically is non-violent because he's not killing anyone in the process. But Spider-Man, Peter, knows that if he lets him do this, there will be weapons on the street that will cause real hurt.
With the alien technology that they're stealing. Yep.
Yeah. And he is in this impossible situation where the homecoming queen, let's say, that's not a part of the movie, but like the it girl, who's not even in his same grade, I don't think. I think she's in the grade above him. So not only is it the coolest girl, it's the coolest girl who's like, dipping with all the politics that there was in my high school, like the idea of a freshman dating a sophomore, that's cool. He has the opportunity to have in his adolescent mind the best homecoming dance, possibly start dating this woman for the rest of his life. And her father has promised to give up the villain game after this next score, and he has to take the sacrifice and make the choice to have the less fulfilling life, let's say, or less cool life for a high schooler, to do the right thing. Not only that, he doesn't have his cool Spidey suit because he fucked around and found out. He got that taken away. So he doesn't have all the cool gadgets to help him. Not only I'm thinking about the Washington D.C. trip where all his friends are dying, he has to find out how to get in there to save them in time. Plus the beautiful moment of the AI saying, "Kiss her, Peter," and then he falls. Just what a beautiful.
Then getting teased by Tony Stark when he's trying to put the ship back together, the boat back together.
Oh yeah, and hell, Tony calls in, interrupts, tries to be the bigger man, and that's the only tries to be a better version of his father, like be better than his father and give validation. That's how he finds out that Peter's fucking around and getting in business that he was told to stay off of. And then the adolescent thing of you are told to stand down by an adult, and thinking, no, I still know better. In this. I'm talking about the fact that Peter or Tony turned the FBI onto this whole situation. So if Peter, in his adolescent ignorance, didn't interfere, that might have actually gone a lot better than with him there. And somehow hearkening back to that train sequence in Spider-Man 2 where he's webbing up the sides, but in a new way and making it feel fresh. You know what? I think you nailed it. I might go A+, but I think right here is a perfect spot. It has a little bit of the flaw of not being as amazing as the action sequences in Spider-Man 1 and especially 2. There's no moment like when Peter's swinging through New York City and then has to thread the needle with the truck and go in between the truck cab and the truck front and back. I don't know what the names are.
Cab and trailer. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's part of the setting. They wanted to have Spider-Man kind of struggle without having the New York buildings. So that's cool. Hell, I think Robert Downey Jr. got paid $10 million for 5 days of work on this film. So I think I'm going to rewatch this tonight unless I pass out. So while I don't think it has the best action sequence of anything at this point, it's still, at least in the films on screen, I would say that's the train sequence in Spider-Man 2. But damn, did they do it. They made multiple villains work by just having a tier system. I'm the boss. You're all working for me. What an elegant solution. We had 2 shockers in one movie and we didn't think it was too much. By the way, everyone should watch Upgrade. That is played by the same guy who played Shocker 1 in this movie. It came out before Venom, which we're about to talk about, and it was a better Venom before Venom, and still is. You're not going to see him eat any lobsters live like Tom Hardy does, so I'm sorry that you missed out on that, but it's still a movie that you should check out. It is R-rated, though. Fair warning. Anything else you want to say about this?
Nope.
Oh, and just to add one more thing that it's pulling from past movies, Tom Holland and Zendaya, they got together and they're still together. So they took Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone, who unfortunately did break up, and did it better, I guess. So I don't know. This movie's kind of magic, I'm realizing. It took all these old elements, and yeah, I'm joking about them dating in real life. That's not an element I'm actually counting in this. They took it, remixed it, made it fresh, and added new things. And just, they killed it. And we had Donald Glover as the Prowler in an amazing scene where he's leaving. He's like, hey, what about this webbing?
Yeah, you're gonna take this off? Oh,
Yeah.
It'll come off in 2 hours or so.
Hey.
Wait, what? No, get back here.
I got ice cream in here. I gotta see my nephew. Is like, sorry, you did a crime. I'm not mad at that. He did do crime. Let him suffer the melted ice cream. And it also started beautifully in the beginning where he goes and puts the intimidation voice, and he's like, hey, you. He's like, what happened to your voice? Nothing happened to my voice. I know a girl's voice when I hear one. And I just remembered the reason he helps him in the first place. Spider-Man gives up the voice and is about to walk away. He's like, all right, this guy's not going to give me anything. He's like, and then Prowler tells him because Peter interrupted. I think Prowler was going to get shot or was like getting in trouble or something in that situation.
The gun deal was going south.
Yeah, and
then there was a noise in the background, and then they pulled the Vulture's guys' guns pulled on Daniel Glover.
Yeah, he's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Hey, no!" And he like interrupted. That was a moment like I was talking about with the Amazing Spider-Man and Flash being nice to Peter. It just added a little bit. Like you could have done that scene and just had him be like, "I'm gonna hurt you." It's like, okay, then here. But no, it's literally because Peter has moral integrity that it pays off later. He didn't do that so he could get something later. He just did him and it paid off.
Yeah.
I love that.
Just Tom Holland being Tom Holland.
Yeah, and also finally we get a close to the same age Peter. For me, I know you said Andrew Garfield was your favorite. For me, it's Tom Holland. It was Tom Holland after Civil War, if I'm being honest, and I said that at the time. I do love that Andrew Garfield gets the respect he deserves later on, because he was, I mean, the way he talks about The Amazing Spider-Man 2, it was a soul-crushing experience to him, because he knew how special Spider-Man was, and I'm sure he knew how flawed the first Amazing Spider-Man was, and not exactly Spider-Man. And then I imagine he just hoped they could get it right for the second one and then see the exact opposite happen. That must have been heartbreaking. So I'm glad he got the respect he deserved later on. But
I mean, Tom Holland, even him as not a character in a movie, he lands his jokes and quirkiness and everything perfectly. I mean, to where it's like cute almost. So for him to play somebody like Spider-Man who's got like a punny, funny side to him and land those jokes in movie, works out really well.
Yeah, and him and Ned, their chemistry is so good. Like, even when he's figured out that he's Spider-Man, which, what a great way to show, like, Peter was getting distracted seeing Liz, and so he didn't know that Ned was actually going to be at his house to finish the Death Star. And then he's, "What? I'm not Spider-Man. You were on the ceiling." And then after that, he's like, "Ooh, what if I got bit by a spider? Could I get?" "No, I don't want to get bit by a spider." It's like, "Ned, you idiot. Of course you should get bit by a spider for getting spider powers." And then Peter's just like, "The spider's dead." Like, the way they just wrap up and don't go through the whole Ben Parker thing, which, look, I've heard people say, like, Far From Home had Peter or Uncle Ben's briefcase, and then they blew up the briefcase. I get how you can read that that's disrespectful to Ben, but I don't think they intended to do that message. I think they intended to be like, "Hey, we know you want Uncle Ben. Well, we might not give you that. We're going to give you a nice little Easter egg."
It does symbolize, that he died. That obviously that Peter Parker does care for him. That he's still carrying around that briefcase, but it's a nod to Ben. But then it's also kind of like we know he's dead, but here's happy instead.
Yeah. And also, I mean, even in this film, they reference it not directly, but he's like, "You can't tell my mom, and you know what she's gone through. Like, it's happened."
Yeah,
I think it would have been nice to have. My pitch was to have a picture of Kevin Feige as Uncle Ben. Although, wait, now this time saying it, I think that might be a little creepy to be like, "Hey, I hired you, Marissa Tomei, so I'm gonna make me your boyfriend." Okay. But I would have chosen Kevin Feige because it would kind of be "Oh, there's an Uncle Ben. Oh, our uncle to the MCU is our Uncle Ben." But I think ultimately, even, yeah, we'll get to it. How it all shakes out, I think, is worth it. Anything else for Homecoming?
No, I think I'm okay.
All right. Next. I don't know why I'm going. I should go. Venom. And you'll roll through the streets like a turd in the wind. All right. I just want to tease everybody. If you've seen my reviews, like that shit's up my alley. So who knows where my rating's gonna be? Maybe S?
No.
Right. But Ben or
Uncle Ben.
Sorry, Brad. Where's the ranking?
I think I would probably drop it right there in the C, the joint tier. I think it's a fun movie. I really like Tom Hardy. I think he's a tremendous actor. I think he did a lot for this role. We'll get to this down the line, but the Carnage movie was terrible. But this movie wasn't as bad. See, I like this movie a little bit more. Them setting up the character. I think they did a really good job setting up the character. With the shop attendant and everything like that too. I think this movie overall was a lot of fun for me. I don't remember it beat by beat. I know I watched it once when it came out, and then once again before Let There Be Carnage came out. I know I've seen different parts of this movie, but I remember it being very fun.
I liked a lot of this movie. There's parts of it like when Venom's explaining why he got ousted from his planet of symbiotes. He's like, I was a pussy. Like, that's kind of interesting. I don't know that it's accurate to the comics, and I haven't read a lot of the comics, but that's an interesting dynamic. I thought Tom Hardy really went for it. I admired that he went for it. That lobster scene might not be my bag, but that was cool. I think there's a scene where he's in a skyscraper and Venom's like, jump out the window, and he's at the top, and then you see him in the get out of the elevator, and Venom goes pussy or something like that. And then there's a whole SWAT team. I don't know why the SWAT team was there, but I like that sequence because for me, remember what I was saying about the first Amazing Spider-Man? That felt like, okay, we had all our storyboards from when Spider-Man was supposed to fight all those cops. Let's use them for Venom. But I don't think there's much redeeming after that. When I finished the film, I literally said, that felt like a pilot to a CW superhero show, and I wouldn't mind watching 9 more episodes. That's how it struck me. Because there's so much weird stuff like Michelle, who I forget her name. The love interest was like so wasted. It was
Michelle Williams, Anne Weying,
who's an
Weying,
who's an amazing actress. So wasted. Cool that they showed female Venom when she had it, but that was wasted. The guy who's another amazing actor, him doing they like chose to do some random silver symbiote for the first one because they were saving Carnage, obviously. Don't do a symbiote. They were like, all right, we don't want to waste Carnage, so let's choose a different color. All right. Like, literally, they were like, that looks cool. I think the director was Ruben Fleischer, and the weirdest part of this is that the guys who wrote the script for the first Deadpool, Wiernick and I forget, but they went on to write other films that you'd recognize. They wrote a Venom script, which apparently is out there, and it had this director attached. But when you look at the writing credits on this script, nowhere to be found. So at that point, I'm like, hold up. You had this script from the writers of the first Deadpool with the same director, and instead of deciding to adapt that to whatever, if there was any tie-in to the Garfield Spider-Man, just write that out, because I guarantee whatever script they gave was probably a banger or better than this one. And then, like, there's weird inconsistencies. Like, the director said that late in the game, he decided to add that 6 months later thing, which really blows a weird plot hole into why the Venom symbiote was wandering around for 6 months in one host before switching over to someone. It's such a mess. It feels like an extension of Spider-Man 2. And personally, I don't think it really nailed the dynamic between, I don't think they nailed down Eddie Brock, because he's an investigative journalist who's so valuable, but then he's thrown away because one stupid discount Elon Musk was like, I don't like that he asked a hard-hitting question. Like, who was the 60 Minutes woman? Not Diane Sawyer, right?
Yes, I think it's Diane Sawyer.
Diane Sawyer. Can you imagine Diane Sawyer asking Elon Musk a question and him being like, I don't like that question, and her being fucking fired? Like, he had his own show, the Eddie Brock show. I think there was a lot of promise, and
I think they could have done that a lot better. I mean, that could have been tweaked a little bit. But at the same time, if that guy, and I'm drawing a blank on whether or not he owned that paper or not, and they got a kind of Eddie Brock had gotten into a little bit of trouble beforehand, so this is kind of like his third strike kind of thing. But yeah, if like Elon Musk owned the paper and you came at him with some weird question, I can understand, getting fired or getting so demoted down the list that you might as well quit.
All right, so I don't know if he owned the paper, but even in that case, like, I don't know if he did. So I'll give two answers. One, if he didn't own the paper would only benefit from being able to say that billionaire attacks our reporter with integrity. Like, use that to sell headlines. If he does own the paper, then there's got to be another paper that'll hire him. He's not going to be almost homeless in 6 months like he is in this film. It would be like James Gunn being fired from Marvel and getting scooped up by DC. Boom. Worst case scenario, he could do the Alex Jones thing where he has people supporting him and he's a truly independent reporter. I think there was so much wasted potential. I was going to say C-, but honestly, I'm going to go skunky. If not, no. I'm going to say my rating is D+, because I don't want to be that mean. Because there is some good stuff for me, and I don't think that the structure of the film is so dog shit that I definitely won't give it a poison. I don't think, maybe skunky is, because A Joint is a solid film for me, and I don't think this film is solid. So I'm going to officially say D+, so that it averages out to like a C-.
Okay.
Because I don't think it should be, if it was in D tier or skunky, it would definitely be before these for me. But yeah, it really did feel like a big budget version of the Flash pilot. And if anyone goes back to the Flash pilot, and I liked the Flash, I watched the first like 3 or 4 seasons. Legends of Tomorrow was, I'll rewatch that first season anytime. But that first episode is so, it's objectively kind of bad. Like, Barry's good in it. Barry's solid. But then you introduce like his whole team, including 2 quirky sidekicks who will not develop as their superhero counterparts for like almost seasons. Then you throw in a villain. Then you throw in a dynamic with his stepfather, a love interest. It's just blah, blah, so fast. And the script's not great. Like, the villain is introduced robbing a bank, and he says and the teller reads, "This is a robbery." Is this a joke? Guess what tellers are supposed to do if they see this is a robbery? They're supposed to keep their fucking mouth shut and give them the money. You know how I know that? Because I met a guy in improv school who robbed a lot of banks, went to jail. Apparently, this is a real thing. You can look it up. I don't remember his name. No offense, he was a nice guy, but he said he would go in with a note, not armed, say this is a robbery with a little smiley face, and then escape on a bicycle. And he did that multiple times, and I'm not telling people so they can replicate this. He did get arrested. He did spend time in jail. He did have to pay back money. But I think they nicknamed him like something, a nice nickname. He's not violent or whatever. Anyway, this really did feel like a quickly done CW pilot that was somehow given $100 million. So, I think right here is perfectly fine, and I'll stop jabbering on. Anything else for Venom?
I didn't realize that it was only $100 million.
I was actually I think when I left, I said this feels like a CW pilot that was given $200 million. But was that the actual budget? $100 million?
Yeah, it was between 100 and 116.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, next. All right, I'm just gonna. I know where you're gonna put it, so I'm just doing that while I scroll. Right in the F tier. No, Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse. Where are you putting it, sir?
I think when we did the review, I think I was at a mushroom. I would say it's probably like the A+ S- tier.
Mind if I just drop it in S tier?
Yeah, go ahead and drop it in S tier.
Foreshadowing, I was going to push it there anyway.
Yeah, I know. S++.
By the way, if anyone zooms in, I didn't grab the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse poster. I grabbed the cover for the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse junior novel, which I've never read, but I had to.
I would say, looking back on this is probably I'm gonna save Across the Spider-Verse for last. I would say out of all the movies, this is easily my favorite one. I didn't know about it at first until we did the review.
Okay.
I didn't know about it until we did the review. I really like the art styles. Yeah, just exciting. It's fun. It tells the same story but slightly different. It hits all the spoiler canon pieces of the Spider-Man franchise, but does it in a slightly different way, and it does it with a slightly different character. And he's artistic and he's fun. He doesn't have as many puns as the rest of them do. He still has some puns and some funny bits, but most of it is.
Have you heard of the shoulder touch?
Yeah, it's just fun. Hey. Just a fun movie.
Yeah. Gosh, this. I'm gonna have to bring back up one thing you said when we do one of the future movies, but. Yeah, I saw this movie 7 times in theaters, and a couple of those times I fell asleep because at the time I had a used 2013 Tesla, which charged very slowly at the superchargers, but it was free supercharging. So I would literally put it on the supercharger, go in with my AMC A-list, and watch this again, and occasionally, because they were comfy seats, go but and I'm glad I'm remembering this because my memory is garbage. But during the polar vortex, the first one in Chicago, my buddy Billy, who has now passed away, I saw it was my 5th time seeing it when I saw it with him, and it was his first time. I'd seen it with my daughter or alone. And, everyone was losing their mind saying, this is the greatest Spider-Man movie of all time. And I was enjoying it. And I don't even know that I disagreed with that, but I was like, it's not really clicking fully for me. And that's because I'm racist. No, I'm kidding. No, it just wasn't.
And it's funny because I mean, if for the people that
please don't say because it's true.
No, because the people that know you know that's not true. So it makes it funny when
That's the only reason I say that. If any part of me was like, I might be racist deep down, I wouldn't be making that joke because I wouldn't want to draw the extra scrutiny. Be like, wait, he does say it. Let me. He is racist. Blind Spotting is my favorite movie, which is not proof that I'm not racist, but it'd be pretty. It would be pretty impressive to me if some like white nationalist, like neo-Nazi, was like, "Yep, I hate all the non-whites, but damn, was Blind Spotting a well-made film." I would want to talk to that person. I was gonna say talk to that man. No, let's be real. It would be a man. I would want to talk to that man. But it was watching it with Billy that and his amazement of it, and he didn't watch movies as much as I did, but it was him seeing it, and I think it was seeing it with an adult who was wowed, because when you're watching a great movie with a kid and they're like, "That's a great movie," you kind of have to be like, "Yeah." But also, you liked Playing with Fire, and you thought that was a great movie. So everything's a great assault. He made me see how amazing this movie is, and it was so good. And I've told Brad this, and I've said it publicly. But when No Way Home, the rumors that was going to be a multiverse story, I was like, no. Amy Pascal, you are doing the Avia Rod and you're gonna shit the bed. Thankfully we ended up with a The Good Place thing, which I've said this again, so I'll really speed through this. It ended up being a froyo, which on New Place in the first episode, the angel who's showing Kristen Bell around the neighborhood is like, froyo, such a human thing to make ice cream, something like ice cream, a little bit worse so you can have a lot more of it. Thankfully, I think we could say that like No Way Home is froyo, if not just ice cream, compared to Spiderverse. They did not shit the bed, thankfully. But this is, I mean, it's weird hearing how many people doubted it when it was announced, because when I heard it was announced, what I heard was Lord and Miller, the guys between 21 Jump Street, 22 Jump Street, the Lego Movie, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, are making an animated Spider-Man film. When I heard that, I was like, all right, tell me no more. I already bought the tickets. I know they're not on sale yet, but I bought them. Don't worry. Stop telling me. Stop. You can only convince me not to go if you say anything else. I was there. And I mean, I think anyone would say in a heartbeat that what was made between Lord Miller and the three directors and everybody who worked on this film was better than even I would have expected, knowing that Lord and Miller are there. And
graphically, this movie's crazy. I mean, you threw basically, and again, I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to turn around and say it again for Across Spider-Verse, but you threw so many different art styles together into this movie. You just crammed it all together, and it made sense, and it worked, and it didn't feel disconjointed at all. I mean, it was just nuts. And then I'm going to turn around and say the exact same thing for Across Spider-Verse. So.
Yeah, and I mean, wait, what? I just lost it. I don't know what I was going to say. All right, let me think about it. God damn it. I'm actually angry because there was something. All right, you go with something. I'm going to try to remember.
Sure. Every character kind of has their own unique but very similar backstory.
I remember.
Nicolas Cage. Go ahead.
Thank you, because I was afraid I was going to lose it again. This movie is the only reason I want to thank Lawrence Kasdan if the report and Kathleen Kennedy if the reports are true for being such a little dick energy idiot and getting them fired off Solo. The rumor, it's never been confirmed, is that Lord and Miller were tackling Solo like they do everything, where if something doesn't seem to be working, they're going to tool around with it until it is. They're going to have a looser set. They're not going to treat the script like some freaking Bible. They're not going to treat the script like play directors do, which if no one knows, they treat that script like it is a Bible. If you change a word, you should get permission from the playwright, that kind of deal, where movies are much looser. Anyway, when they were treating the script by Lawrence Kasdan and his son, who co-wrote the script, that loosely, apparently, if rumors are true, Lawrence Kasdan was so insulted by that he got Kathleen Kennedy to fire them off the project. Because of that, they said they were able to put even more energy into this film, which metric ton. Let me figure out how to say this. That mistake of firing off the Solo was, if you put it on a scale, it would weigh a metric ton. I saved it. Not what I was intending, but I'm giving up on it and saving it and moving on. But the silver lining is that this movie was even better. So, yeah, I'm good. I'm good with them not cashing in on more soulless, having Solo sequels that'll suck, and getting money from us on that end in exchange for an even better Spider-Verse movie. The only thing I'm going to mention that I thought was a flaw in this movie, in the whole thing, there are other people who have said stuff like they said that Gwen should have talked to Peter B. Parker as her way to close that wound of her Peter dying. And I agree with that. But the only thing I thought was a mistake that I haven't heard anyone say was during the What's Up Danger sequence, we get all these echoes of things that have been said to Miles. Things that we're supposed to know, or that the movie is communicating to us that it were big moments before. We hear, you have this spark in you, from his dad outside the room. We get, you're on your way, from his uncle. And then we hear, our family doesn't run from things, from his mom, which was a good line. But in that scene, I think the framing is off, because in that scene, it's really quick where he asks, Mom, why don't we move out of Brooklyn? I think. And she says, Miles, our family doesn't run from things. And it's a 2-shot with them, and that's it. She tucks him in, gets out of there. The only thing I would change is just make those close-ups for each of them. Just cut between them and make it more impactful by having her face essentially fill the frame more. Because that's in the What's Up Danger sequence, and I don't think it hits. I don't think the setup is as strong as it could have been. I'm mentioning that now because I'll spoil it. They solved the fuck out of that with boy, woo! Mama is a real character by the sequel. She's a real character in the first one, but let's be real. Her screen time is just minimal compared to the two father figures. She gets the great moment of just one more, like kissing him, or no, in a minute, because he's like, all right, we gotta go in a minute, and he's eating the soup, and then she's kissing him on the cheek, and he's like, I gotta go in a minute. Like it's adorable. She's a great character, but it's such a small role comparatively that I think they did the right thing of giving her a lot more in the sequel. Anyway, I'll stop talking because we all know this is amazing, and I keep eating up the time for Brad. Also, tell me if you're disagreeing, but I'm just calling an audible. This is going to be a part one. It's 10:26 for this has gone so much. I think this tier list might end up being longer than our tier list and spoiler review for Fast X, because I think we took an hour for the tier list in that one, and we had a couple technical difficulties, but we just hit 2 hours and 14 minutes recording.
What do we got left?
We have
5 movies, 6 movies.
We have 5 movies, including my surprise. We have Far From Home, Venom, what was that fucking movie's name?
Let There Be Carnage.
Let There Be Carnage. We got No Way Home, and we got Across the Spiderverse. All right, we are not doing Across the Spiderverse in the tier list today, so we've got 4 movies. We have the surprise, which will take like 3 sentences, I promise. I know I'm going to break that promise technically, but it'll compared to the others will be good. Do you have anything to say more for Into the Spider-Verse before we end your suffering?
If you haven't seen it, go see it.
Yeah. All right. So really quickly, we'll go. Actually, Far From Home and Venom: Let There Be Carnage might be shorter ones. But where would you put Far From
Home? Far From Home for me is a solid movie. I don't think it deserves. I don't think it's above Homecoming. Yeah, I'd probably put it in B plus A- tier, probably closer to the B plus range for me.
Where would it fall amongst these movies? Amazing Spider-Man and Spider-Man.
I don't want to. Don't make me do it. Probably in the middle of them. Let's do it. Let's do it in the middle.
All right.
Because I really like Amazing Spider-Man.
All right. So, what did you say your score was for that?
B plus. B plus. Solid B.
Okay. I think this was a solid sequel. Of course.
Okay. I take that back. I'm gonna put it behind the Spider-Man one. I just remember this is the one with what's his name? Mysterio, and
All right. So this
it sets him up for the wrong one.
Gotcha. Were you ranking No Way Home to be a B? Unintentional?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. I was like, well, I'll get to why that would have been surprising when we get there. But what were you going to say?
Yeah, no, just for me, I got this and Homecoming flipped, and I was like, wait. No. This is the one with, what's his name? Yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal, and he's like in a fishbowl the whole time.
Yeah. So this is another time where it sounds like an Avi Arad idea. Like, okay, so Raimi's Spider-Man 2. Tobey Maguire had hurt his back on Seabiscuit. And honestly, maybe it was the fact that Tobey Maguire is not the best actor. I'm thinking of Spider-Man 3 with all his crying scenes. My God,
some of those were rough. I do remember those.
Yeah, and they edited it down to a bone because they had too much, and it just goes from, I think I'm starting to feel sad. Cut away. It was what a fucking mess. But
like Saturday Night Live skit.
Yeah, but they considered recasting him with Jake Gyllenhaal if Tobey Maguire couldn't do it, which was so perfectly referenced in Entourage with Aquaman movies. Just check out Entourage. It might be your bag. It might be uncomfortably homophobic because Entourage kind of gives those vibes of having your group of guys, but they're the guys that you don't want to have a podcast with and let them share all their thoughts publicly. It's more like, all right, we're growing up. Maybe we should. Okay. Anyway, so thinking, okay, the guy that we almost made Spider-Man 2 reboots ago, let's bring him back as a villain. It sounds like it could be such a dumb idea on paper. But but Jake Gyllenhaal, I think, it does an amazing performance. There are things wrong with this, more so than the last film. People have said, instead of making these Edith glasses that have been gifted by a dead man, how about you just make the MacGuffin thing his special nanotech suit? Just make it the nanotech suit. Make him question if he wants to keep being a hero. And since it's his nanotech suit, he can give permission over to, or he can just give it to Mysterio. And now Mysterio has nanotech, which can make his fishbowl thing a reality. And then he can take it back or destroy it. That was, I think, a Nando v Movies pitch. There's the question of Mysterio and the glasses. If he gave over permission, how can he take permission back? I guess you could have fixed that by saying, add a user, add an authorized user. Boom, give it to him. This is definitely an Amy Pascal or Avi Arad thing. The whole, I want to delete a photo off my romantic love interest competition. So, oops, we're killing him. That is 1000% a dumb Sony note of, we haven't had an action sequence. Force one. But on the other hand, like I said, you've got the great performance by Jake Gyllenhaal. I think the VFX angle is actually really interesting for someone, because Mysterio was a VFX artist, or a special effects artist, actually. To modernize it like that and have him be a fraud. I mean, and people say, well, if he joined the Avengers, they'd know he was a fraud. No, the idea was have this world-ending fake thing and then pretend like you've lost your powers defeating it. And now you're a savior. Everyone loves you. You may not have any superpowers, but hey, maybe you'll get an Iron Man suit because everyone's cool. The idea that everyone is pretending to be something they're not, and then extending that to Nick Fury, I think it's okay. It's fine. It does work to explain why Nick Fury is a relative dumbass in this movie. Because the real Nick Fury would never have gifted him the glasses. The real Nick Fury would probably be like, punk ass bitch is getting drones? Nah, kid, you're going to give it to me. I apologize for my bad impression of Samuel Jackson, and by that I mean I didn't say motherfucker once. Like, woo! So I think it's flawed. Do I think it's worse than the first Spider-Man?
Yeah, and then there's also the scenes where, because they go on that debate trip or whatever, and Peter Parker just like ditches them through the entire thing, and not one person even cares about where Peter Parker went through that whole time. He shows up late to the competition. The teacher doesn't care. He ditches them as soon as they get off the bus. The teacher doesn't care. He ditches all the kids during the party sequence.
The competition was at was in number one.
It wasn't in this one where they go. Yeah,
because
debate thing.
Because they were in debate club in the first one. He dropped out. MJ noticed. She's like, I'm not obsessed with him. I'm just very observant. She's obsessed with him. Then he joins the debate team so that he could go try to find the interrupt Toombs getting the heist. And then he's like,
that's when they go to the tower afterwards, the Washington Monument. Okay. Yep, my bad.
But he does dip. Like, they're on a field trip over the vacation. Ned gets a love interest just to give Ned something to do while you figure out how to show MJ that he's Peter. And I love that MJ already knew. MJ figuring how they figure out that Mysterio is a villain is, I thought was elegant. Like the night monkey thing, like they can't see that Spider-Man's here. That's too obvious. I think the photo thing of like, oh, he had his pants down with a blonde lady. I will show MJ, and MJ will be so furious she will kiss me. Weird. But him having to save Oh yeah, he didn't even come up with the name. When he's saving Ned, he's like, "Oh, that's not Spider-Man. That's Night Monkey." I thought that was good. Yeah, it was a little wonky. They had the gruff bus driver who's really the chameleon, I guess, in the comics. Cool little Easter egg. You know what? I think you nailed it. I think they really dropped the ball of not having the scene where Peter talks to Aunt May. You know, that was teased at the end of the last one where she sees him in the suit and says, "What the fuck?" They really did a disservice to the writers of not telling them about the blip. Like, that's why everyone's the same fucking age in his class, because they didn't know. They just added one guy who we never see again, MJ's other love interest, who she doesn't give a shit about, and said that, and had him aged up. But yeah,
the one thing that they do well in this,
they
do well is they set up No Way Home at the end of this movie by having him get exposed, or right before he gets exposed. So they do a really good job of setting up the next movie in this movie.
One thing I want to shout out is I think
doo-doo.
Yeah, I think doo-doo. I think doo-doo all the time. I think the reason why this movie suffers and the last movie was so good is because it's the writers who wrote the first film. You can see their work. They went on to direct Game Night, which was a great small movie, so much more enjoyable than you expect. They went on to direct Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Amongst Thieves. So you can, and I think they were attached to direct The Flash before either of those. But like, who wasn't? Even I was attached to direct The Flash. Don't fact check that. Let's just make it internet canon. But like, they're really good at this. Like, they've made a solid Spider-Man Homecoming, one that on our tier list, and I didn't expect this, although I think it's correct, above Spider-Man 2, which some people still say is the best Spider-Man movie, and I'm not gonna squash that. You know, live your life, enjoy it, because I was not to harp on you, but it was shocking to hear you shit talk it. And you didn't even really shit talk it, but compared to the rest of the internet, you basically said, like, they should fucking die for making this film. Yeah, I think it was messy. I think they fucked up not communicating between the writers' rooms or whatever. But damn, did they give Zendaya a great character? Like, they made her more than just a caricature. Hell, I even remember her saying "bo." It's like, what? Bo. It's my favorite word. It can mean anything. It can mean like hello, goodbye, fuck you, or whatever. I think in Italian, in Venice. Bo. And like him getting the Black Dahlia necklace and then it breaking because he had to fight the water monster, but then her loving it even more because she loves broken things. You know what? Nah, I'm not gonna move it. I'm kind of trying to convince. Part of me is trying to convince myself to move it, but I think it's good. It has a lot of promise. It's not the best. I think No Way Home improved on some of the okay parts. Like, I liked that Happy and Aunt May were getting close. I think they could have done more with it in the sequel.
They should have, but
yeah. Than just we're already breaking up. But it's fine. Yeah. All right. Let's get Brad to bed. Don't clip that. All right. where do you want to put Venom?
Last.
Be Carnage.
Last.
F?
Probably not F. Probably D-. It's a fine movie. I have no interest in watching it again. Woody Harrelson plays a decent Carnage, but it feels so over the top and forced, like a forced fake. Where if they would have let him just be excited, but it felt like he was really trying to push the like maniacal bad guy. Like, I don't know. I didn't like
really trying to channel Nick Cage.
Yeah.
Or let me put that this way: channel Nick Cage through a Woody Harrelson filter.
Yeah, it felt weird the whole time. It just felt like he was, I don't know, it just felt gross. I like Woody Harrelson as a bad guy. I like that idea. The movie was kind of just forgettable. In fact, I'm trying to remember some of the beats of the story, and I just don't. I know I have it. I know I've seen it at least twice, and it just makes me not want to remember it as soon as I remember Woody Harrelson is in this movie.
So the reason I wanted to make sure that I mentioned my first reaction to Venom 1, which was that was a kind of messy pilot, but I could watch 9 more of these, is because leaving Venom Let There Be Carnage, I was like, okay, that was an episode of the show, but they took time they did a rewrite. And by that I mean, I think they figured out what they wanted the Venom TV show, as I'm going to continue calling it, to be. And this was a less sloppy script. At least for me. The whole plot, this is the plot. Imagine if I just forgot.
I'm reading the synopsis of this, and I still don't remember.
I got it. I was forgetting Tom Hardy's character, which is Eddie Brock. Eddie Brock and Venom are in a odd couple relationship.
I do remember that.
And it's stressful. It feels a little bit like Requiem for a Dream, toned way down, and by that I mean a simmering panic attack when they're working together, which puts me in the headspace of Eddie Brock in that situation, which I dug. I think they figured out the dynamic between them enough. And the plot is that Carnage wants to break out so he can he wants to break out of jail so that he can find his high school crush, break her out of jail, and then and then kidnap someone seemingly randomly, go to a church and get married. And that, to me, sounds like a plot of the Flash TV show or something like it, where there's no big stakes. They just want to be bad guys doing something stupid. And of course, because they're bad guys being stupid, killing people, the hero of the story needs to intervene. It's not a great film. I personally would put it above Venom 1 because it's not as sloppy for me. It is an episode. It feels written like it feels more cohesive than the first one. Also, I just, I don't think it's a great movie, but I think it was a good movie for Andy Serkis to practice his directing skills. I haven't seen it. Heard it was bad.
I was surprised that Andy Serkis directed this as I was pulling up. You just ran through the entire plot of that movie, and I don't remember any of it. I remember the odd couple part of it. I remember the chocolate, the bodega store owner didn't have chocolate that day, and we shall eat Mrs. Kim. And he's like, no, we won't eat her. And, like trying to freak her out and stuff like that, but it wasn't working. She was just stone face on it. But yeah, you telling me all the Carnage bits, and I don't remember any of that. None, zero whatsoever.
Yeah, it was pretty sloppy. I
do remember the end credit scene when he's sitting at the bar or whatever, and Spider-Man comes on the screen, but that's as far as I got.
Yeah, and talk about wasting fucking Danny Rojas in the next one. Okay,
Danny
So,
Rothon.
so I do actually, I forgot that post-credit scene. I want to insult it for a second because I insulted this. Spoilers for No Way Home if you somehow haven't seen it, but this is going to spoil it. So I didn't see No Way Home opening night because I wanted to wait the weekend to watch it with my daughter because I got her on Monday. If it was during the summer that it released, I get her Monday through Wednesday. If it was during the school year, I get her Monday through Friday. We switch up like that. So for whatever reason, I just wanted to make sure that we saw it together. And so I was avoiding spoilers. And these teenage kids were really good, actually, really good at not spoiling it. I love that they didn't. They accidentally did. I'll just say that because we were talking about this Venom tease and they weren't spoiling anything for No Way Home. But I was like, yeah, when we get that mid-credit scene where he gets teleported to a Hawaii or something, and then you see Peter on screen with his mask off, I thought that was so fucking dumb because in no world would Peter be in that situation, get outed on the news, and then take off his mask to confirm it to everyone around. I think that mid-credit scene should go jump in a fire. And then like, spoiled me because one kid was like Aunt May. And then he caught himself. So it was like it kind of spoiled her death, but also made that moment better because they didn't fully spoil it. So when I saw her get hit, I just started crying. And my daughter was like, "Why are you crying?" I don't know why I'm doing my talking too long about a different movie. But I think I would really put it like C- because it figured it. Wait, did I put C- for Venom? All right, if I put C- for Venom, I would put C+ because at least it was more cohesive. Oh wait, what does that do then? You had D+ or D-? D.
D. I mean, I put it last, but
Right,
yeah,
it's D, and I'm putting it C+ because
C. So it should be like a C- then, yeah.
All right. Well, I'm sorry I moved it, but I thought we were going to end up here. But because I would have had it like this. Maybe this? I don't know. So, yeah. Does that look good to you?
Yeah.
All right. Let's keep trucking. The last movie that or besides that surprise one, the last movie we were ranking, this is why I want to come back, and I was surprised that you said this was Into the Spiderverse was the best Spider-Man movie, because I remember when this came out, there was a debate, not a real debate. I think it was, if I can talk for you, I think you were debating with yourself which one was better. So I was surprised when you tell me if I'm wrong, but I thought you uniformly claimed Spider-Verse was the best out of these.
It is. I would say Spider-Verse is the best. I would say No Way Home is second. I mean, what's
S tier second?
S tier second, yeah. I would say that those two are easily the best two movies of the entire franchise.
Agreed.
I don't know if there's anything I can really say. I do think that it is a touch messy in the middle if I'm going to nitpick it. It is, and the ebb and flow of the Green Goblin's going from good to bad based on his mood ring that day. I mean, but I'm nitpicking some very small things in the middle of this movie that's not really that important. I think they do a really decent. I think they do up until this point. I think they've done the best that they could with a really messy topic of time travel, multiverse. It's a really messy thing to get right, and I think they did a really good job at this. I think there are movies that have been made after this movie that are better, that do a better job explaining and a better job of figuring out how the time travel / multiverses need to go. And I think there's one movie that jumps out to in my head that I think a lot of other movies are going to look at and go, you know what, that's a good way of explaining it. Let's figure out our way to explain the same thing. for our movies.
You want to say what movie that was, or
Nah, I'll wait.
tease it for the spoiler review of Across the Spider-Verse?
Sure, I like it.
Right. And especially since I don't know what movie he's talking about, that doesn't mean that it's Across the Spider-Verse. It could be a different one. You'll just have to put it in the comments. Or let's be real, if you're listening to this, you're the one person left. Thank you. Yeah, I fully agree. I think no matter what, this has to be second to Into the Spider-Verse, because Into the Spider-Verse just stands on its own. This is the best Spider-Man movie that requires homework.
Yes.
Because you need to have some. I mean, you can watch it and be fine and get it, but I don't think the emotional moments work unless you've seen the others, especially Garfield saving MJ. That'll work, but when Garfield starts crying and you haven't seen anything, you'd probably be like, "Oh, thank God, MJ! What the fuck is he doing, dude? What the is this a weird crying kink? Like when he saves somebody, fucking." What the fuck is going on? So I think you need homework for it, but and honestly, for the shit I was giving Tobey Maguire, I think he does an amazing job in this film. Let me give some respect. And I already said I cried when Aunt May died.
That was tough. That was definitely tough. I mean, I don't know. I think you could watch this movie without homework, as long as you understand the canon, the main plot points of Spider-Man. But you really need to watch Avengers. I mean, without Avengers, I don't think this movie works as well as it does without the Avenger movies. With Doctor Strange and everything like that, I think you'd be really lost. So you couldn't just pick up this movie and say, I want to start watching Spider-Man movies. And you just pick up this movie because you heard it was good. I do think you do need some homework, but I don't think you need as much as you might, as what it sounded like you were kind of insinuating.
Yeah, I was more like saying, I didn't even think about the Avengers movies because they referenced the blip and the change of Doctor Strange to Sorcerer Supreme. I think there's a lot like that stuff is, at the end of the day, I think would kind of fall into the exposition of, like, if you don't know what I'm imagining like a 50-year-old woman watching this and be like, oh, exposition, I don't care. Like that could probably wash over somebody to like, well, I don't get it, but it doesn't seem like I'm really missing much. Whereas like when all the Peters are talking about their trauma or even just their personal lives and their MJs, it's more like, it'd be like watching Age of Ultron and seeing Iron Man and Thor talk about Pepper Potts and why am I forgetting? And Jane, and just be like, why am I watching them talk about their girlfriends? Where are the girlfriends? Can I say their girlfriends? Are they here?
One's not even their girlfriend at this point anymore.
And by the next film, will they be broken up? But
yeah, I guess there's probably there might be a little bit more homework that I'm thinking, because you kind of do need to have at least a working understanding of that there are multiple Spider-Mans. You do have to kind of have to know some of their backstories. They bring in all the bad guys, but that's kind of irrelevant. You don't really need to know. You just need to know that they're bad guys.
Yeah, there's dynamics between the bad guys that you'll be confused by. Like, if you hadn't seen it, like, why is the sand thing friends with Spider Guy? I didn't see sand in Venice, but no, yeah, I think this has got it right where it should be. I think, yes, I know that this was not the plan from the beginning. Everybody who I reference who's been complaining about Ben not being respected, when this came, they were like, yeah, sure, Aunt May dying was great. And now that we look back, we got a pretty good trilogy, but it still wasn't the plan. So you can't, I'm just like, all right, I get it. I get it that you wanted Ben, but we ended up with something pretty cool at the end of the day. even if, you know, Far From Home is a little more flawed and lacking. And this, because of COVID, definitely has some wonky things like Sandman's always sand. Lizard is more easily explainable. And
Green Goblin's two-faced, depending on what his eye color is.
the fact that his Power Ranger helmet was fully CGI because they couldn't find the physical one in time. You know, there's stuff like that. This definitely has a longer list of ways to improve it than Into the Spider-Verse does. But at the end of the day, man, they killed it. They did such a for what they could have done, everything that we know that they could have done. They did a great job. Is it the best? Is the cinematography the best? No. Is the emotion? Okay. This actually, I almost forgot. This movie. Let me back up. You know what? I'm not going to back up. This movie really shocked me because it showed me something that none of the other movies did. And that is Spider-Man wanting to save the villains. Which, when it happened, I was like, oh, yeah. Why the fuck has Spider-Man not been wanting to save the villains? All right. In all fairness, Spider-Man 1, Goblin kills himself on accident. Spider-Man 2, not much he can do, but let Doc Ock redeem himself and kill himself. But, like, I haven't seen any part where a previous Spider-Man has really struggled to try and save somebody. And in all fairness to Miles, his uncle died. There's nothing he could do. But, like, the fact that it took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 movies, not including Civil War, not including Infinity War and Endgame, to have Spider-Man like try to save the villains, because in this scenario they were innocent, and you shouldn't just let someone die just because of who they are. Everyone should be given a second chance. That was beautiful. Also, one other thing I forgot about Into the Spider-Verse. Into the Spider-Verse showed me why giving Peter special blood in the Amazing Spider-Man movies was a bad idea. When I first saw that, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. It's a cool little add-on. And everyone else was like, that's awful. That's not Spider-Man. Into the Spider-Verse showed me why. When at the end they were like, I wear the mask. You can wear the mask too. I hope maybe you didn't know that before, but I hope you do. The idea that any person can be Spider-Man, that is really powerful. But yeah, this one, hats off, because I've said it like 3 or 4 times. I can't believe we haven't had a Spider-Man that wanted to save their villain.
Yeah, especially with how soft-hearted Superman. We've only been talking about this for 3 hours, and somehow I get Superman. Spider-Man. With how soft-hearted and kind Spider-Man is, and the happenstance of him becoming Spider-Man to not just be one of those hardened guys like I'm the ultimate good guy. I've got to crush all bad guy. Crush. Where he kind of got bit by accident. He's a kid. He, still has a lot of naive tendencies. So for it to be 9 movies and him not try and save somebody, regardless if they've done him wrong or not, is just, it's weird. So it was refreshing to see. In a lot of superhero movies, we don't necessarily get to see that, because it's always the struggle of good versus evil, and bad guy crush, good guy crush, and hopefully the good guy comes out on top.
Yeah.
So,
and I want to be clear, I'm not saying like Spider-Man's been bloodthirsty. Obviously, Miles saved Kingpin or whatever. He didn't kill him. But we've just never had a situation where it's so clear that a villain's going to die and Spider-Man has a problem with it, know? And yeah, it's just good on him. I think that's it for the ones here, except for the surprise one. And I'm going to just do a little Premiere Pro magic and add it, because I'm not wasting any more time with Brad's. Brad, do you want to, well, first, before you guess which one I cried 4 times. Do you want to guess what the surprise one is?
I have no idea. I'm trying to think of what Spider-Man movie or Spider-Man spin-off even could be.
The moment I remembered, I was afraid you'd realize it, and you will while I lead up to it. But it was when I was talking about how insulting it was that Into the Spider-Verse was the lowest grossing Spider-Man movie. Do you remember the movie I'm Only Glad Exists because it has a lower box office gross?
No.
Morbius.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Have you seen Morbius?
I have not. I've stayed away from that movie.
I have not either, and yet I hope you join me in ranking it unequivocally poison.
There's a reason why I haven't seen it. It's free on Disney Plus. You can watch the movie. Yes, and
I'm not gonna.
Still have yet to see it. I've had plenty of opportunities.
It's been on Netflix for a while too.
Yeah, I've had opportunities where I've sat on the couch thinking I should watch something. I don't know what I'm going to watch, and just watch brainless TV instead of watching a movie. And I still chose to watch that over this. So
I don't think I've ever watched it. I would watch seasons of Keeping Up with the Kardashian before I would want to watch Morbius. Now, to be clear, if we do review-a-thon, I'll watch Morbius. I'm not going to watch seasons of Keeping Up with the Kardashians before it to prove a point. But will you join me in ranking it poison?
Yeah, I'll get to it eventually. Now that we've joked about it, I probably will have to sit down at some point in time and watch this movie.
Yeah.
Because I know it's going to suck.
Feel free to wait until we actually do a review-a-thon, just to delay your suffering even further.
Just so I don't have to suffer twice.
Yes. Yeah, it would be pretty bad if it's as bad as everyone has said, if you have to watch it twice and you can honestly be on your deathbed and said, I watched Morbius more times than Spider-Man 3. Yeah, so I Premiere Pro'd that, and it's at F tier. It's got a teeny tinier one because if I put it properly, it would have expanded here. Okay. Actually, just so I don't make my life harder, now I Premiere Pro'd it in because I don't want to have to move it away and put it back. That's our tier list.
I can't imagine that movie's worse than Eternals. I've seen Eternals twice, and both times I can't imagine it's worse than that.
I'll say this. I'm going to bet that it's going to be worse than Eternals, but more engaging.
Okay.
Because for me, what's bad about Eternals is that it never grabs me. Something about it is, I don't know what.
You get enough time with each character, but not enough at the same time to actually feel care about any of them. It just feels like they give you 5 minutes of this one, 5 minutes of that one, 5 minutes of this one, and it just felt okay, why do I care?
And I thought Brian Tyree Henson, I think, who voices Miles's dad, he's one half of the gay couple in Eternals. I thought they were a cute ass couple. That whole vibe, them and their kid, I did. The movie's bad. And also, I think Nando V Movies did a appreciating Phase 4 type of video, and he talked about how the woman who runs really fast in the Eternals, that was a great flash sequence or something. Still something about the film, just not engaging.
Yeah.
I don't know why you watched it twice though.
Once in theaters, once at home.
Yep. Still, that didn't explain it to me at all. You know what? Unless it was a situation like me with There Will Be Blood, where I saw it in theaters and hated it, and then I rewatched it and realized I was a dumbass. If you were rewatching it just to be maybe I need to watch it one more time, then that's yeah.
It's got a lot of good actors and actresses in it, and it just doesn't work. It
could have been a really good TV show.
Yeah,
obviously with the story that. Anyway, okay, we're 7 more minutes and we're over 3 hours. It is 11 o'clock.
Shit. Wah.
No. So my daughter got me this number one dad trophy thing, and I forget how, but it somehow broke. And then she super glued it back, and I just knocked it off, and it broke again.
Well, you got to fix it with gold.
I don't got that money. I'm just gonna super glue it again before she sees it.
Ted Lasso 3 reference.
You gotta super glue it with gold. Wait, what?
Yeah, if you fix it's, I forgot what it's called, but fixing things with gold. It's a Chinese thing where they like break things, then reattach it with gold, like gold inlets. And gold
leaf. Yeah, I remember. And they do stronger, and more beautiful.
Yeah, that makes it stronger, and then they do that for the bowl, and then they also do that with the Believe poster.
I didn't realize that connection. Okay, still can't afford it. All right, if you're still here, stick around for the review-a-thons. We're going to be doing the first 4 Mission Impossible movies in anticipation of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. This is the year of part 1s. But also stick around because we're going to come back with our spoiler review of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Apparently that's going to be 6 hours long. If we keep up
double it up,
same math as our Fast X tier list. What the fuck was this? Holy shit. I'm so sorry. And hit the like button or leave a review. Hopefully 5 stars. That'd be nice, but I can't. I'm not going to tell you have to. Just make it honest. I'm Brian at Movies Are Dope. This is Dr. Brad Octavius. Oh wait, let me get your big mug up here. Oh yeah, and your favorite version.
Super big.
I know you hate that. Dr. Brad Octavius. Follow him at BradF912. And just have a very spiderific. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm getting tired. If I'm getting tired, Brad must be out of his goddamn mind. He has to wake up in 2 hours. Don't fact check that. Everyone go to the video and just go watch the last minute because I want you to see Brad's reaction when I said right when I was saying don't fact check that. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye now.
Oh, what's your ranking? Put it in the comments. Bye. Surprise mid-credit scene with a totally natural costume change. Definitely not recording this when we're recording the review. Don't fact check that.
Just like Chris Evans in the whatever post-credit scene that was, where he's hiding his face behind a newspaper. Very similar.
What post-credit scene was that?
I don't remember which one that was, but Chris Evans was hiding his face behind the newspaper because he had grown out a beard for this next movie.
Yeah, the first Avengers. He had a weird thing on his face, actually, like covering the beard, but it was so wonky that they did that to just cover up how fucked up his face looked.
Yeah, so it's exactly like that, but better looking.
And Brad, of course, is talking about himself, humbly, though. But so to reveal the one that I cried 4 times, which I actually saw it with Kevin Smith, but for his spoiler show. But the way it turned out, the first person he talked to, which you won't see in the episode, they talked for like 45 minutes. So he got one other person's really funny line of insulting Gwen for being a scientist. But you can see that on Hulu if you want. I cried 4 times watching The Amazing Spider-Man. And I could have sworn I told you this, so this may just sound like repeat, but the 3 moments that I remember were one when Uncle Ben is telling Peter about his dad, like and he's like, so where is he? He's like, what? He's like, if he wanted me to know this, why isn't he here to tell me? And I don't know my biological father, so that was like drama.
Unresolved trauma.
Unresolved. And then there was another moment which I might remember when we if we do a review-a-thon for the Spider-Man movies. The 4th moment was Crane Dad just squeaked out a tear at the end. I was like, beautiful. beautiful. Just a little bit. But the third time was, and I think I mentioned it during our tier list. I mean, I know I mentioned it during the tier list because this is the same day. We just changed our shirts. Shut up. Was when Flash went up to Peter after his uncle died, and Peter pinned him against the lockers. And that I was just like, I was bullied so much in school and none of the bullies did that. So trauma again. And if you're wondering what trauma with the cranes, man, I needed to swing through New York and the cranes did not show up. And part 2 of this mid-credit scene is depending on your viewing experience of Across the Spider-Verse, surprise, this is a 2-parter. We didn't know going in. And you may not, apparently from what I've been hearing, a lot of people, and I'll blame the marketing, didn't know this was going to be a 2-parter. So see you there. Check out the full review, and I'm going to be talking about a giveaway on the spoiler review. So if you have gotten this far, please just spend 5 more minutes at least on the spoiler review to find out what the giveaway is, because it's like in less than a week that it'll be done. So, all right, bye. Cue the rest of the patrons and members.